SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The NFL's franchise tag window is open, and some huge names could be tagged, like Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Baltimore can use the exclusive or non-exclusive tag on him as they try to work out a long-term contract. What the Ravens do with the former NFL MVP is a big deal, explains ESPN NFL reporter Jeff Darlington.
They could put on one of two tags, the exclusive or the non-exclusive. I do expect the Ravens to tag Lamar Jackson, but we need to be very clear about this. That does not mean necessarily that he will play on that tag in 2023. Instead, that is a stopgap to work toward a long-term extension.
The franchise tag window ends on March 7th. NBA Nets coach Jacques Vaughn agreed to a multi-year extension. The deal is expected to keep him under contract through the 2026-2027 season, reports ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Bulls guard Lonzo Ball will miss the rest of the season as he continues to experience discomfort in his knee during basketball activities, despite arthroscopic knee surgery before the season. NHL Avs star defenseman Cale Makar back in concussion protocol, out at least the next 2 games.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
And welcome into a Tuesday edition of After Further Review. Matt Musso filling in for Matt Moscona all week here on AFR. Jacob Beck and Paul O'Neill along for the ride as well. And a jam-packed show here on Mardi Gras Day. Happy Mardi Gras to all of you listening. LSU and Southern are currently underway at the box. It is the top of the third inning, and LSU is trailing 4-0. It has been a very inauspicious start at the box. We will talk about that plenty throughout the day. A lot of time left, but the Tigers have dug themselves a very, very early hole against their crosstown rivals. Plenty of LSU football news to get to. That's where we're going to start as well. And Wilson Alexander from The Advocate covers LSU football. Will be with us at 5 o'clock today. So if you have to leave, make sure you come back for that as well. We'll talk some Saints, sprinkle it in throughout, and some more on Derek Carr, and maybe an area they should explore in free agency outside of quarterback as well. But we will start with LSU football. A couple of big stories, obviously, today. The one breaking most recently involves Malik Neighbors. The LSU star wide receiver was arrested yesterday evening around 9 p.m. in New Orleans on a weapons charge. He has since been released on his own recognizance, did not have to post bail. LSU released Fox 8 in New Orleans and WAFB here in Baton Rouge were the first to report it. And LSU did, the athletic department did release a kind of a statement to, or what has been reported, I should say, by WAFB is they're still waiting to gather more details before releasing a statement. That's a source familiar with the LSU athletics department told WAFB they were aware of the arrest and are, again, working to gather more details before releasing the statement. I'm not going to speculate on anything that really happened there. We'll let the legal process play out with that. That's obviously what LSU is still doing because they have not released a statement officially yet from the football program on Malik Neighbors. I would imagine no bond is probably a positive there. There will be disciplinary action taken by LSU against Neighbors that'll probably be kept in-house. We'll have to remain to see if that is going to be any type of suspension or whatnot. If it is, I mean, that plays major implications given who your first opponent is. If it's for a game, is it that Florida State game? If it is for, just some, is it more in-house, something off the field that we don't ever see that they discipline him with? We'll see. I'm sure that will also play out with the investigation and what exactly happened in this situation. But Malik Neighbors arrested last night around 9 p.m. in New Orleans on a weapons charge, was released early Tuesday morning, again, on his own recognizances, so no bond was required. If there is a situation where he misses a game, you look at what LSU has at receiver right now. Brian Thomas potentially slides into that spot. I mean, that's a guy who led your team in touchdown receptions last year. You'll have Chris Hilton back off injury as well. Kyron Lacey, of course, transfer from ULL, who was with you last year, and then Aaron Anderson from Carr coming in as well out of the transfer portal. So you would have plenty of options. Not ideal, though, at all, given what's kind of already happened with LSU at receiver with the Kayshon Boutte situation, and now Malik Neighbors, who is your top guy, coming back and had a breakout season last year in the SEC and was expected to do the same and really move up draft boards. This is not necessarily the start to the offseason you want for him. The Tigers will open spring practice, of course, March 9th when Wilson Alexander is here at 5 o'clock. We'll undoubtedly ask him about it, see if there's anything new. Hopefully LSU will have finally released a statement by then. But that is the latest that we have there. Malik Neighbors arrested in New Orleans on a weapons charge, released earlier today on his own recognizance. The other big story surrounding LSU football is Brian Polian. Of course, LSU's much maligned special teams coordinator is now moving away from that role and into an off-the-field GM type role where he'll help manage the roster, help with NIL, the transfer portal, and things of that nature. Pete Thamel from ESPN was the first to report that this morning. It has since been reported everywhere. This was honestly one of the more asked questions going into LSU's offseason, right? Was what are they going to do with Brian Polian? Because something had to be done. Your special teams last year was horrendous. We all know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And it really wasn't necessarily, I don't necessarily think it was personnel specific, more or less how they managed and used that personnel that was the cause of so many problems for special teams. Look, Damian Ramos turned out to be a pretty darn good kicker for LSU, right? But you had multiple kicks blocked. And one reason you had some of those kicks blocked, you look at week one with Mason Taylor, a true freshman tight end. He'd never been on a field goal team before. He's out there, goes the wrong way. It's not there. You didn't have anyone else on the team that was ready to do that week one, because after that game, you didn't see Mason Taylor there anymore. That's what I mean when you say, you probably could have used your personnel a little bit better. We could talk about the muffed punts here, there, and everywhere throughout the season, the muffed kickoffs, whether it was Jack Besh against Tennessee, whether it was Malik Neighbors twice in the opener against Florida State. It was plentiful. Using your personnel correctly can also be attested to penalties. I think it was the Auburn game where LSU in the first quarter had 3 penalties on special teams in one quarter. It was terrible, and it got to the point where it was costing you games. And there was going to have to be some type of change made. It was just, what is that change going to look like? Now we know. So again, Brian Polian moving to the off-field GM role. It sounds similar to something like what Austin Thomas did with LSU for so long. And I think that is very valuable to still keep Brian Polian on the staff. He is of value to you when it comes to recruiting. You have to remember he was also your recruiting coordinator this year and was a large factor in helping Brian Kelly and the rest of the staff sign a top 5 class in the country. So having him on staff definitely pays dividends just now in that off-field role. So where do you go from here? Well, obviously you have to find a new special teams coordinator. Brian Kelly has shown a fantastic record of hiring coaches and coordinators for that matter. Look how well Matt House, look how well his name completely escaped me. Mike Denbrock. Thank you. Good Lord. That was awful, guys. Look how well Matt House has worked out. Look how well Mike Denbrock has worked out. He'll find somebody to coach special teams. But I think it also says something about Brian Kelly willing to make a tough decision in a sense because of his relationship that he has had with Brian Polian at Notre Dame and previous stops. You see a lot of, friendships in coaching. It's hard to have friends on staff because of decisions like this that have to be made. Brian Kelly made the decision for the betterment of the team, and now they will go forward, looking to see what names populate. Again, that's something we can definitely talk about with Wilson Alexander. It is still early in that. I would say this is something that Brian Kelly has thought about a lot, a decision that was not made, in haste. So when it comes time to make this hire, you'll probably see it done fairly quickly. I would imagine he already has calls out and has guys in mind for that. But a decision that had to be made, a decision that we all thought would eventually be made. Now we know how it is with him just transitioning into the off the field role, which again, I think is valuable because you keep him in that role of, hey, help us with the recruiting, help us with building the roster, transfer portal, NIL. Now you have the new collective and everything at LSU, which of course they're not involved in, right? It's just the boosters and things of that nature. But Brian Polian in a valuable role for LSU. Now, I think the other interesting part of this is recruiting coordinator as well. What happens there? Because if he's moving in an off-the-field role, does somebody else on staff take on the role of recruiting coordinator? If that is the case of what will happen, I think you have a very obvious answer in Frank Wilson to take on that role. It's a role he's held at LSU plenty already. It's a role he's very familiar with. He has already taken on a large, when you look at the salary he was brought on with, it was because of what he was going to do in recruiting as well as associate head coach and things of that nature. So if that is the route they go, and there has to be an on-field coach, I believe, that has that. So for me, obvious answer there would be Frank Wilson. So plenty of moving parts there with the staff around LSU. But again, one more time, a decision that needed to be made, we thought would be made, and now has been made. LSU and Brian Polian still on staff, just off field. And of course, the arrest for Malik Neighbors, which we'll have plenty more on that later in the show and in the coming days. We're going to grab a break, our first break here of the show today on a Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review. We'll come back on the other side, talk a little LSU baseball as they are trying to put a rally together early in the bottom of the third inning, trailing Southern 4-0. We'll have the latest from the box next here on After Further Review.
AFR.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com, 288-8138, 288-8138, or ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding. They do it all. And at Relief Windows, they will never take $1 from you until you are thrilled with the work. Seriously, no deposit, no down payment. They do not want $1 from you until you are thrilled with the work that they do. That's Relief Windows. And what a time of year. We are moving to the winter months, and this is the time of year when those leaky, drafty windows can become costly. Of course, lets the cold air in, the warm air from your heater out. Make your home more energy efficient. Lower your monthly energy bills. Increase your home's resale value with energy efficient replacement windows from Relief Windows. 288-8138 or ReliefWindows.com.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Love telling you about River City's 1 hour air. 752-0001. 752-0001. Love telling you about River City's 1 hour air because I love telling you about great companies that treat people right. That's River City's 1 hour air. They make you feel valued and they make you feel comfortable. When you schedule service with River City's 1 hour air, when technicians come into the house, you get a phone call, an email, and a text message alerting you the technician's on the way. You get a text message with a picture, a photo, name, and reviews of that technician who's coming to your house. They take the time to explain everything. They're very thorough. They have equipment on the truck because they're so big on continuing education. They have equipment on the truck other companies don't even own, never even heard of. River City's 1 hour air. Nights, holidays, weekends, they'll always come out. They'll never charge you extra. River City's 1 hour air. Got a problem with your home central AC? Call River City's 1 hour air. 752-0001.
LSU in business in the bottom of the third against the Southern Jaguars. Southern now has seen their lead be cut to 4-3. Dylan Cruz reached base. He was balked to second. Braden Jobert was then intentionally walked. Gavin Dugas hit a bloop double down the right field line to score a Cruz. Trey Morgan followed that with a double of his own to score Dugas and Jobert. So second hit of the day for Trey Morgan as well, whose bat was fairly quiet over the weekend, although he did hit a couple of balls hard. Now 2 hits today and 2 RBIs. LSU trailing by 1, and now LSU has taken the lead. Jared Jones with his first career home run to left field, a 2-run shot scoring Morgan. So you got a 5 spot for LSU here in the bottom of the third inning, and it was needed because it was an inauspicious start. Kind of the catch you up a little bit on the game if you're not watching. The most intriguing part of today was Thatcher Hurd making his LSU debut. And Thatcher Hurd, after fall, was definitely thought to be a guy who was going to be in your opening weekend rotation. Even halfway through the spring, I would think that would be what a lot of people would have told you. It kind of faltered there towards the end, and he ended up being pushed towards the midweek. Good Lord, that was a blast. I just saw Jones's home run and it hit the scoreboard. That kid is so good. Jeez, he's awesome. Anyway, so back to Thatcher Hurd, and you got to bring him along a little bit slower, right? I mean, look, the guy missed a lot of time last year with the pars defect in his back. But before then, in 34 innings, he was UCLA's best pitcher, an ERA of 1.06, struck out 48, only walked 10, all in 34 innings. He was awesome. And is right now in the draft for 2024 projected a top 5 selection. So he is that guy. You want to see him out there on the mound. And it just, it was a really tough go of it for Thatcher Hurd today. It looked very similar to how he had looked kind of towards the end of the scrimmages. He managed 2 innings, gave up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, walked 3, and struck out 3. In that first inning for Hurd, he was missing with the fastball, arm side high consistently. And, I mean, that can just be a lot of being too juiced up in that situation. He settled down after walking 2 in the first, got 2 strikeouts. But in the second, managed to wiggle out of some trouble in the second inning, did walk the leadoff guy. He would come around to score on a sac fly, but got out of it with just that 1 run. In the third inning is kind of where it went awry. He did start pounding the zone with strikes more. Southern just hit it. This is a pretty good Southern team, honestly. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. They went down to Houston in a tournament and won 3 games, won that tournament. They hit .316. It's a very veteran club. And when Hurd came into the zone finally in that third inning, they were able to hit it back-to-back singles to lead it off. You yank him, you bring in Christian Little. He strikes out the first hitter he faces, gives up an RBI single, and would ultimately get out of the inning, but not before Southern was up 4-0. Now, of course, LSU has taken a 5-4 lead, and Southern has a lot of action in their pen. So when you look at Thatcher Hurd, obviously, look, LSU's going to need more from him. They're going to get more from him. It's just going to take time. I mean, I think you're going to see him obviously continuing that midweek role. I don't think it's the debut that many thought they would see. I'll tell you, it's certainly not the debut I thought we would see from him today. I thought he would. I thought he'd be able to get through the Southern lineup with a little bit more efficiency than he did today, but it's not what happened, and the numbers aren't going to look pretty for Thatcher Hurd, but there are certainly much better days ahead in his LSU career, and definitely I would say even in this season. So right now they lead at 5-4. That's good. You have Jordan Thompson at the plate with the bases empty after Jared Jones cleared them with his first career home run, and he just stays hot. Thompson drew a walk. I think positive so far for LSU, obviously, besides the 5 spot here in the third inning, getting Trey Morgan going. That was something we talked about a lot yesterday with the LSU offense. Excuse me. Over the weekend, some maybe weren't as jazzed up about just 24 runs being scored, but you had Trey Morgan hitting the ball on the screws and it going right at people all weekend. That's a guy who's going to be a force in the middle of your lineup. To have him have 2 hits today, that's massive going forward for LSU as well. I think another major positive offensively, even though it hasn't necessarily materialized into a hit yet for Josh Pearson, he's hitting the ball hard and putting together quality at-bats. That's a guy who he got the start in left field today in a leadoff spot. That's a guy who it didn't materialize a lot in the fall or the preseason with the bat, but you saw what he was able to do last year when inserted in the lineup, and that will continue throughout his career. They trust him an awful lot, and he hasn't had a bad at bat yet this season. And again today, he had a ball on a 3-2 count that he absolutely just stung to the center fielder. It was just right at the center fielder. Eventually, those will fall in. We mentioned Jared Jones is obviously just a continued positive. I'm not exactly sure what his batting average is right now after that home run. It is up to 556. So yeah, that guy's just continuing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do this weekend, because with Tommy White, and that's something I'm curious to see today too, is if we see Tommy White get an at-bat in this game. Jay Johnson said they're going to bring him along in a progression. Does that maybe mean you give him an AB late in this game against Southern? It's something that I would certainly like to see. Not positive they're going to do that. But also, I think it was Chris Blair on the broadcast today for this game mentioned that they want to work Tommy White maybe into a DH role against in the Round Rock Classic against Kansas State, Iowa, and Sam Houston State. My question with that is going to be, okay, well then what are you going to do with Jared Jones? Because that guy's got to be in your lineup right now. I mean, he's hitting 556 and just gave you the lead with that homer. That he is going to have to be in your lineup often. He's done nothing to warrant it. I know you obviously want to get Tommy White back in there at a DH role. Makes a lot of sense, but you got to find a spot for Jared Jones if you're going to do something like that, because you don't want to take him out and kill the momentum that he's built up here early in the season. I would say another positive early in this game is Christian Little. Christian Little, if you'll remember on Friday when he made his LSU debut against Western Michigan, coming out of the bullpen was perfect. 2 perfect innings, and the off-speed stuff really worked. And to see him come in, limit the damage, and kind of bail Thatcher Hurd out a little bit today, that's a great sign going forward for Christian Little and what he can potentially do for you in the bullpen. So far, Little today, 1 inning, a hit, a strikeout, and he's faced 4 batters. So they're going to put him back out there on the mound here and look to get some long relief out of him. And that's something we talked about with Christian Little, obviously, a lot this offseason, was the versatility that he can bring LSU. He's a guy who reclassified and ended up at Vanderbilt when he was 17, 18 years old, should have still been a senior in high school, and he's pitching in Omaha. He's starting games in Omaha when they're playing for national championship against Mississippi State. So he's got that starting experience. He came here ultimately to be a starter. It hasn't worked out like that yet early in the season, but he has that ability for you. He can give you the long relief outing that you're going to ask for him here a little bit against Southern, and of course what you saw him late in the game against Western Michigan. So plenty of versatility there for Christian Little, and it's encouraging early in the year to see him being dominant out of the bullpen. And again, they'll turn to him here in the 4th inning, try to get some some length out of him and going forward. A couple notes just on LSU baseball before we hit a break, kind of housekeeping-wise. The team's leaving tomorrow for Round Rock. So their first game is Friday at 2 o'clock against Kansas State. They're leaving tomorrow, which is, I guess they'll get a couple practices in at the stadium and whatnot. But because of that, we won't have media availability with Jay Johnson before then. So the last time we'll really have to speak with him before that massive weekend is after this game, which is not common, but that's the situation you're in. So they'll leave tomorrow. Of course, by now you've probably heard viewing options for the game, d1baseball.com. They do great work over there. Kendall Rogers is on the show all the time, as is others on his staff. They're going to be streaming the games all weekend, all of them. You can get a daily pass or the weekend pass. The weekend pass is $24.99, but if you use the code LSUKRR, you'll get 15% off. So that's your that's how you're going to be able to watch the games this weekend. But they've got a pretty awesome broadcast crew set up. It's a lot of the guys from ESPN. So D1 Baseball has a partnership with ESPN where they use the rankings and all that, and those guys contribute on D1 Baseball platforms, guys like Chris Burke and Kyle Peterson and Mike Rooney and things of that nature. So that's going to be kind of your broadcast crew this weekend. So it's going to be an awesome broadcast setup, just non-traditional there. But weekend pass, $24.99. But if you use the code LSUKRR, you can get 15% off, and savings like that never hurt anybody. Christian Little back out for his second inning of work, working to a full count now on the leadoff hitter in the inning. You'd like to see him get through this one clean after LSU spotted him the lead. I mean, a five spot in the third inning. You bottom of the third, you got to come back and put up a zero there, and he strikes out the first batter of the inning. There's one down. And we are going to hit a break here now. We'll keep you updated throughout the rest of the day on LSU and Southern. Have some time blocked off through it just to give updates. But there's a lot of other stories to get to today. And if you're watching the game, if you want to watch the game and want to know what's going on, you're probably not watching me. You're probably watching the game anyway. But I'm not going to pass up the opportunity to talk LSU baseball. So LSU leads Southern 5-4, one out here in the top of the fourth inning. And we will hit a break, come back on the other side, go around the SEC. Angel Reese as well for LSU women's basketball. She set another record in her first year in the league. We'll tell you about that. And Wilson Alexander from The Advocate still to come at the top of the 5 o'clock hour talking LSU football. Plenty of news there out of Football Ops today. Stay here. It's a Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review on a Tuesday.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Online at getgordon.com. That's getgordon.com. And all this month, I love this. I absolutely love this initiative that Gordon has introduced there with the G team. Of course, Gordon's done an NIL deal with the entire purple and gold lady basketball team, I think, if I take all the branding off of it. And what they're doing is called Playing for a Purpose. So Gordon Gives is going to donate $20 for every point scored by Alexis Morris and Angel Reese during this month. And all that money is going to go to the Turner Syndrome Foundation. That's a charity that is very close to the Mulkey family, and it's such an awesome thing to do. So, Gordon, yes, if you've been injured in an accident and you need help and you need representation, get Gordon and get it done. But, of course, Gordon does so much great in our communities. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
We remind you about Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com. That's where you can check them out, Michelli.com. Remember, at Michelli, they do offer ISO 17025 accreditation. You can learn more at Michelli.com and other accreditations and standard calibrations as well, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. All of their different services and products are at the website. The website is a great virtual font of resources. So many times clients will say, oh, I didn't know you did that. So go to Michelli.com. The track system that they offer is a great asset. Track records, assets, and calibrations. It's an acronym. And what this allows you to do is track the status of the calibration of your devices. And then it also gives you a record of those calibrations at your fingertip online for free 24/7, 365 so you can be more efficient. Michelli Weighing and Measurement.
All right, here, rolling along. Hour number one of a Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review. We'll go around the SEC here in just a second. But another honor, and this one broke a record for LSU star women's basketball player Angel Reese. Of course, we all know about the double-double streak that she had that sadly came to an end against South Carolina, but it surpassed Sylvia Fowles and stood at 23 straight games to start the season. It was incredible to watch. Now she set another record. Angel Reese has notched her 6th Conference Player of the Week honor this season. That breaks the record of Candace Parker. She was pretty good, who had 5 from 06 to 07, and Mississippi State's Tiara McCowan, who also had 5 in 2018 and 2019. Being in the company of Sylvia Fowles and Candace Parker, pretty darn solid for Angel Reese, and it was kind of a foregone conclusion she was going to get this honor this week after the week that she had, averaging to 30 and 18 in the games against Ole Miss and Florida, of course, against Ole Miss in the bounce-back effort from the loss to South Carolina, a career-high 36 points and 20 rebounds. And then against Florida, Angel Reese put up 25, 16, and 5, as well as 3 blocks and 2 steals. So became the first SEC player in the past 20 seasons with at least 25, 15, and 5 in a conference game against the Gators, too. So congratulations to Angel Reese, who notches her 6th, record 6th SEC Player of the Week honor of the season. The LSU women's basketball team, tongue twister, easy for you to say, is now 25-1 on the season, and they return to the floor on Thursday night in Nashville. They will face Vanderbilt at 6:30. All right, go ahead here. Congrats to Angel Reese, and now we'll go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions.
I've got to stop
the
watching.
Alabama Crimson Tide.
I've got to stop watching the baseball game. I'm tripping over myself too much. Okay, Alabama. A Tuscaloosa detective testified today that the gun used by Michael Davis and former Tide basketball player Darius Miles to murder Jemiah Harris was brought to the scene by Alabama standout forward Brandon Miller. Miles texted Miller to bring his gun to the scene. Miller was not charged in the case. Tuscaloosa Chief Deputy District Attorney Paula Whitley said according to the law, they had no case against Brandon Miller. Alabama coach Nate Oates on Tuesday, speaking to the media, said, quote, "We knew about that. Can't control everything everybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor is he in any type of trouble in this case. Wrong spot at the wrong time," end quote.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
The Vols baseball team is still waiting clearance for star transfer shortstop Maui Ahuna. Ahuna missed opening weekend for Tennessee because the NCAA has not ruled him eligible. Vols head coach Tony Vitello was on the Sports Animal up in Knoxville and said, quote, "I don't know what I can and can't say. I didn't even ask. It really is out of my hands. Maybe there will be a clearer picture once things are done. I would like to hope there will be a resolution sooner than later," end quote. Tennessee opens the home portion of their baseball schedule today versus Alabama A&M. And when the Vols take the field today, they will do so with some new additions to Lindsey Nelson Stadium. This offseason, a third tier was added to the left field party deck, and the bleachers along the right field line have been replaced with chairback seating.
Texas A&M!
Jimbo Fisher is promoting one of his defensive analysts, Bryant Gross Armoriento, to an on-field assistant position. Matt Zenitz of On3 Sports reported that first. According to Zach Barnett, the position title will be secondary coach. He will work alongside DB's coach, TJ Rushing. Gross Armoriento is entering his third season at Texas A&M after a previous stop at Georgia. Basketball action tonight in the conference, in and around the conference, I should say. You got a big one actually in College Station tonight. Texas A&M now entering into the top 25, ranked 25th. They will welcome in the 11th ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Rick Barnes' squad coming off a loss to Kentucky. Mississippi State is in action. They travel to Missouri. That's a 6 p.m. tip on the SEC Network. Georgia and Arkansas from Bud Walton Arena follow that game, 8 p.m. tip from Bud Walton on the SEC Network. I should mention also the top 25 tilt between Tennessee and Texas A&M is on ESPN at 6 p.m. That's around the SEC. It's presented to you, as always, by Gulf Coast Office Products. LSU in business again. Braden Jobert, 3-run home run here in the bottom of the fourth inning. LSU widens their lead to 8-4 over the Southern Jaguars. Again, they got off to the slow start, fell in a 4-0 hole. Now lead at 8-4. Josh Pearson led off the inning being hit by a pitch. Dylan Cruz walked, and then Braden Jobert homered to left field on a 2-0 count, scoring Pearson and Cruz. I probably should have mentioned Jobert too. And when I was talking about positives early in the season, and we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but he's hit the ball well, obviously early, but has also done it off lefties. Now, for what it's worth, this homer also came off of a lefty, which is massive, and it was to the opposite field. So that is a great sign for Braden Jobert seeing the ball early. They Southern went to the bullpen to change, bring in a lefty to intentionally face Pearson, and then Jobert having two lefties due up in the inning. And that's the third hit so far for Jobert off a lefty this year, and that one goes for a 3-run bomb. That's great to see. LSU has opened the lead up 8-4. Gavin Dugas now in the box facing a 1-2 count. We are getting set to grab a break. Something I'm interested, I wanted to talk about a little bit here, and intentionally left a little bit of extra time to do so. in the at the end of the first hour. Kylie McDaniel at ESPN has released his first top 100 ranking for the MLB draft in 2023, so this summer's draft. And as you might expect, there is plenty of LSU flavor in it, both with current players on the team as well as incoming recruits, which ones could potentially make it to campus, things of that nature. We'll look at that coming up here to close the first hour. The first his MLB draft rankings 1.0 from Kylie McDaniel at ESPN. And actually, they just released 2024 as well. Maybe take a look at that. At the top of 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk some Derek Carr, as his brother, David Carr, who works for the NFL Network, spoke about Derek's visit to the New York Jets. Talked a little bit about that yesterday, but we'll update that further. And a team within the division has spoke on the record on if they will bring in Derek Carr for a visit. So that's coming up to open the 4 o'clock hour. But next, we'll talk some MLB draft rankings. Again, Kylie McDaniel has released his first top 100. That's to close out the first hour here on a Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review. Come back with us.
AFR.
If you are even thinking about selling your home, I'm going to give you a phone number. I'm going to give you the only phone number that you will need. I'm going to give you Darren James's phone number. It's Darren's cell. Like, you can call this number, you can text this number, and you are literally calling or texting the phone number that Darren James has in his pocket or on his hip. I'm talking about the realtor that sells more homes than anybody. A guy on the Wall Street Journal is listed the top 1,000 realtors in America based on the number of homes sold. You ready? 335-7666. 335-7666 or agent225.com. Of course, you can go to the website, agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need to maximize your return on the home, you want a hassle-free, pleasant experience, you need Darren James. 335-7666 or agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Corval Toyota in Opelousas is spreading the love this month with amazing deals. Get 3.99% financing on new 23 Highlanders, and as always, you'll never pay over MSRP. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers. And Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th. Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. The #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Jared Jones' first career homer went 467 feet. He's an animal. The nickname of Bear is just, it fits perfectly. No doubt he will see his name plenty throughout his career when it comes to draft projections and draft rankings. And today, Kiley McDaniel at ESPN released his first top 100 for the 2023 Major League Baseball draft, MLB draft rankings 1.0. Want to go through a little bit of that, and he did give a few notes on future drafts as well that we can touch on a little bit here as we close the first hour. So, look, obviously, all the attention when you talk about LSU in the 2023 MLB draft is going to go to the top spot and the number one overall pick, and a couple of different guys, Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz. They're even, I mean, you just look at the SEC flavor. You have a guy like Chase Dollander at Tennessee who could potentially throw his name into the hat. Wyatt Langford at Florida as well, their center fielder. So speaking of Wyatt Langford and Dylan Cruz, that is who Kiley McDaniel has up there at number one. He grouped them together, kind of 1A, 1B, Dylan Cruz and Wyatt Langford. So it's interesting. He went through this really long write-up that I'm not going to bore you with. Obviously, there's a lot of baseball jargon in it with exit velo and launch angles and you know, future value and things of all that. If you're that interested in percentiles, if you're that interested, go read it. It was very well done. Kiley does a great job. But what's interesting is the way he broke it down. Wyatt Langford seems to have a slight edge in projectability at the current point right now, or I should say maybe not projectability, slight edge at current value than over Dylan Cruz. So what it might come down to is, you know, which organization falls in love with which player more, who the Pittsburgh Pirates fall in love with more. Is it Wyatt Langford? Is it Dylan Cruz? It was interesting. Kiley McDaniel also noted that with a guy like Cruz and Langford, for that matter, since they grouped them together, both of them probably start in Major League Baseball or in pro ball in the minor leagues at center field, but a corner outfield spot is a little bit more likely for both of them than that. Where Dylan Cruz kind of takes advantage of Langford here in the projection is the power. The power's more there. Cruz's swing and everything that McDaniel notes is more geared to optimizing power, which is his greatest trait, his greatest tool that he has. And when you think about Major League Baseball these days, it is a lot of, man, who can hit the ball the farthest. And Dylan Cruz definitely has that type of edge over Langford. While Langford does, it's just not, as Kiley writes here, it's not the classic, it's not the moon shots you'd expect from a classic power hitter. You do get that from a Dylan Cruz. Very close, both those players. It's going to be an interesting conversation all throughout the season and leading up to July's draft. Wyatt Langford or Dylan Cruz at number one, at least according to Kiley McDaniel. He has them 1A, 1B. So after that, your attention really shifts to Paul Skeens. And you don't have to go far to find Paul Skeens. He is number 6 right now for Kiley McDaniel. And the write-up on Skeens was very interesting as well. McDaniel notes he wasn't a huge fan of Paul Skeens as recently as this summer. And scouts have been all on Skeens really since he transferred from Air Force, went to Team USA, and now throughout the fall and spring or preseason here at LSU. Kiley McDaniel noted it was kind of the lack of a plus pitch from Paul Skeens. It was a nice package of above average stuff, a good slider, a nice fastball that would touch 97 miles per hour. But since he got to LSU in the fall and started working with Wes Johnson, Kiley McDaniel and again scouts alike have become way, way, way more bullish on Paul Skeens. I'll read you this from Kiley's piece. Quote, "The buzz this fall once he got to LSU, he being Paul Skeens, was that his velo jumped and the slider took a different shape under the tutelage of celebrated pitching coach Wes Johnson. And that's what we saw during his season debut on Friday. He sat 94 to 99 with a sweeping slider that is easily plus to the eye, and the data says is one of the best pitches in college baseball." And you'll remember we talked a little bit about that. Well, actually, no, it wasn't here. It was on Musso at the Box. I talked about that. The work that Paul Skeens did with the slider, starting by himself, mind you. It started out him realizing, okay, there's something I can tweak with this pitch. He started doing that when he was with Team USA this summer. And when he got to LSU, he was really starting to see results with it. And Wes Johnson sat him down with all the printouts and said, this is why you're seeing the results. This is how you can continue it and whatnot. So the data that says it's one of the best pitches in college baseball, that's the data that I'm talking about. One other interesting note on Paul Skeens, Kiley McDaniel referenced an analyst that he spoke to, compared the new version of Skeens, so what you've seen working under Wes Johnson, to former Cy Young winner Corey Kluber, and it's because of the slider. So you didn't have a plus pitch, just a nice package. Now you have two. It is basically what Kiley McDaniel has said, and it's happened in the span of summer to opening day for Paul Skeens, and scouts believe it's either going to be Skeens Dollander for the first college arm taken in this summer's draft. So, man, if you needed any more hype surrounding LSU Tennessee on that Thursday night in April when they come to the box and you have Skeens versus Dollander on the mound, now you have it. They might only not be battling for a victory, but in front of a lot of scouts to potentially be the first college arm taken in this summer's draft. You have to go a little bit of a ways to find the next LSU connection, and it's a recruit. It's catcher Blake Mitchell. He's the 18th ranked prospect in the draft, according to Kiley McDaniel. Again, a catcher out of the state of Texas, Sinton High School. He's got a first-round grade on this guy already right now. It's going to be hard to get him to college, I would imagine, and not because of first-round money or anything of that nature. LSU's pretty set at catcher at the current moment. You got 3 of them to campus last year, including Brady Neal, who we all know is kind of going to be your catcher of the future there for LSU. You have Jared Jones, who's hitting 467-foot tanks as a true freshman. Ethan Fry is also, brought in as a catcher for LSU as well, has the ability to play that position, did play it some in the preseason scrimmages and in the fall alike. So for a guy like Blake Mitchell, your best path forward might just be pro ball because, well, there isn't necessarily a spot available right now at LSU, but we'll see. Jay Johnson has been fantastic at getting guys to campus that nobody thought you would. Mentioned it right there with the catcher position. You recruited 3 of the best in the country. Didn't think any of them, it was a possibility that none of them could show up on campus, and in reality, all 3 of them showed up on campus, and you've built great depth there if you're LSU. The next Tiger connection comes in at number 60. That's Cameron Johnson. He's a left-handed pitcher from IMG Academy, so another LSU recruit there. Look, Jay's done great at getting pitchers to campus. I mean, you look at a guy like Chase Shores, you look at a guy like Griffin Herring, you look at a guy like Aiden Moffitt. They've done fantastic at that so far early in his tenure at LSU. Cameron Johnson could very well be a guy who ends up showing up at LSU just based off of ranking. We'll see how that goes. Again, you got a large portion of a top-ranked class to campus last year, 75%. So does it bear out that way this year? We'll see. But that ends it right there. Those are your LSU connections. So Dylan Cruz, there in the top spot, 1A, 1B with Wyatt Langford, Paul Skeens, number 6 in Kiley McDaniel's top 100. Blake Mitchell, a commit, a recruit who plays catcher, is 18th. And Cameron Johnson, a left-handed pitcher out of the state of Florida, is 60th. For what it's worth, a couple to note that Kiley McDaniel made mention of was Grant Taylor. He did not include Grant Taylor in this top 100. Said he would have had Taylor not had the injury preseason. Grant Taylor, again, draft-eligible sophomore. All signs currently point to him returning to LSU in 2024 after recovering from the Tommy John surgery and hoping to, elevate his draft status. But what McDaniel said is, since I didn't include him in here, just to show that he would be, consider him 101 for Grant Taylor there. And then I have to find it right real fast. There's the Grant Taylor thing, and here we go. For 2025, he went through a couple of things for 24, just top prospects, because he's delaying his top 100, top prospects for 24 and 25. Interesting enough, for 24, it's not an LSU Tiger, but it's somebody you're going to be very familiar with by the end of this week. It's Iowa righty Brody Brecht, who was up to 101 miles an hour this weekend, opening weekend, 6'4". He also plays wide receiver at Iowa, but is their Saturday pitcher, so you'll see him. LSU will. He's projected early in 2024, again, 98 to 101 on the fastball. And then Chase Shores for 2025 was the first name that Kylie McDaniel mentioned when talking about that draft, and just kind of a guy who has regularly been in the upper 90s since getting to campus, and was thought of highly for this past draft that he passed on the money and showed up to campus. So keep an eye on that as well. That's kind of your way early look there, but 2023 looks fruitful for LSU in the draft. That's going to help us put a button here on hour number 1. When we get back for hour number 2, we'll lead off with Derek Carr. Interesting enough, too, on 3 Sports, they ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in college football for 2023. Jaden Daniels prominently ranked on that list. We'll talk about that at the bottom of next hour. But the latest on Derek Carr to start off hour number 2 after Sports Center here on AFR.
AFR.
Remind you about South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. That's southpointvw.com. Get on by, test drive any of their line of vehicles over at South Point. Remember, I tell you all the time, 9 different IIHS top safety picks. It's the highest safety designation a vehicle can get. It's one of the reasons I love driving my Volkswagen is I know every time I put Drew in his car seat and I'm driving, I'm in one of the safest vehicles on the road. Erica drives a Volkswagen. Every time she leaves the house in her car, I know she's driving one of the safest vehicles on the road. And by the way, they're stylish and affordable and fun to drive. It's at South Point Volkswagen. Remember, the all-electric, first electric SUV for everyone, the Volkswagen ID4. You can make your reservation right now at southpointvw.com. It's South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I'm Chris Nakamoto. Happy Mardi Gras. Here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. The city parish is looking into a blight situation off of Government Street, where seagoing vessels' lifeboats ended up dumped in a lot near the electric depot. The lifeboats are now being used as a shelter and home for many of the city's homeless. People in the area call it trashy and want to see the city do something about it. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. Bulls, Bands, and Barrels at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. With bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman with Timothy Wayne. February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center, 7 p.m.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The next chapter for one of the most intriguing stories this NFL offseason is about to be written with the franchise tag window open. It involves a marquee name, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. The Ravens could put the exclusive or non-exclusive tag on Jackson as the sides try to work on a long-term contract. Baltimore really has only one choice here, though, believes our Keyshawn Johnson.
Best thing for them to do, though, is try to figure out how to get the deal done, man. I understand you don't want to spend $230 million, whatever the case is, but get close enough. Get close enough to that guaranteed money, put some incentives in there that's makeable, likely to be earned, and then we can go from there.
Key of Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Alabama basketball star Brandon Miller allegedly provided the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month, according to police in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. A detective testified today that former Crimson Tide player Darius Miles asked Miller via a text to bring the gun to him and another man. Miles is one of two men charged with murder. Miller has not been charged. NBA Bulls guard Lonzo Ball out the rest of the season, still dealing with a persistent knee injury.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time you need parts for your car, don't call it quits. Go to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
Let's ride.
Welcome into hour number 2 after further review. Happy Mardi Gras. Matt Musso filling in for Matt Moscona. Be here all week for Scone. He's off to Napa. So good vacation time. He'll be back on Monday, recapping everything he missed a while away. Good show so far. 1 hour in the books. 2 more hours to go. Keeping you up to date as well on LSU and Southern. They're over at the box. Tigers leading 8-4. Now on the bottom of the 5th. Jordan Thompson on second base after a leadoff double. We'll have more on that going forward. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate will join us at 5 p.m. to start the 5 o'clock hour, talking some LSU football. A lot of news out of football ops today, whether it was Brian Polian moving from special teams coordinator to an off-the-field role, and then, of course, Malik Neighbors, your star wide receiver, was arrested last night in New Orleans on a weapons charge, released this morning on his own recognizance and not having to post bail. Still awaiting an official statement from LSU on that matter. We'll see if Wilson has anything new to provide there at 5 o'clock as well. And then I kind of teased it a little bit heading into the top of the hour, but on 3 Sports, they ranked the top 10 quarterbacks for the 2023 college football season, and Jayden Daniels, pretty prominently placed on that list. We'll talk about that in about 27 minutes or so here. But did want to start the 4 o'clock hour with the latest on Derek Carr. Obviously, look, everyone knows it. The New Orleans Saints, they need a quarterback this offseason, and they have multiple ways to get it. You can go draft your future. You can sign a veteran in free agency. You could bring Andy Dalton back as your veteran quarterback. You could bring Jameis Winston back as your veteran quarterback, although that feels really far-fetched at this point. Or you could do a multitude of both, right? You could sign a veteran in free agency. You could bring Andy Dalton back as your veteran and still potentially draft your future in the NFL draft this April. For what it's worth, that'd be the one I'm most favorable to. Bring in a veteran, let it be a stopgap, and then hopefully draft somebody maybe like a Hendon Hooker with your second pick in the draft that you think can potentially be your future. But what the question that has to be answered still to that is, obviously, which route they go, but who is the veteran quarterback? Andy Dalton makes the most sense for somebody you would bring back, but everything's really centered around free agency at this point, and when you do that, you talk Derek Carr. We all know why Derek Carr is in the situation he is right now. He refused to trade, honestly, to everybody, but the New Orleans Saints were the team willing to trade for him, which would have just been a very interesting decision had they been able to make that, and Derek Carr accepted it, but was cut. Forwent what would have been $40 million guaranteed over the next 2 years on his contract if that the Raiders would have had to pay. So he's cut. Now free agency, able to visit. Spent a lot of time with the New Orleans Saints a couple weeks ago, over the weekend, visited with the New York Jets. We now have a little bit more information on that visit from Derek Carr's brother, David, who works for the NFL Network, was on NFL Network earlier in the late last night, and talked about a great trip that Derek Carr had to New York.
Derek had a great trip. So he went there to get a feel for how they work, from the top down. And everyone he met, and we knew he would love Robert Saleh. I've known Robert for a while. MJ knows Robert. He's fantastic, and they hit it off, and they would love to work together. But there's a lot of questions that have to be asked. He has to find out how the inner workings of, obviously, the front office works, but then also, I think the most important thing for him as a veteran quarterback, what is it going to be like as an offensive play caller and a quarterback in that relationship? Todd Downing is there. He has a relationship with Todd. Nathaniel Hackett is also there. So how does all that work? And they had a good chat. They talked about a lot of different things. And obviously the team is just in need of a quarterback and some stability there. They have a lot of good components. There's a lot of things that are very positive about the Jets. He had a great trip.
It was Jeff Darlington yesterday, whose audio we played on the show, who mentioned and reported that the Jets feel they can win a championship with Derek Carr at quarterback. It gets really interesting with the New York Jets and Derek Carr, and we'll talk about why momentarily. But the other team that you've kind of heard be talked about a little bit with Derek Carr outside of the Saints, outside of the Jets, is the Carolina Panthers. And that's interesting for a lot of different reasons. Number one being they're in the Saints division in the NFC South, and they obviously need a quarterback. Do you really believe in Sam Darnold? And Sam Darnold has, kind of been bandied about as well for potential other landing spots for him also. Frank Reich, the new head coach for the Carolina Panthers, met with the media today, and he was asked point blank, will the Panthers bring in Derek Carr for a visit?
Interesting question. We're really literally sitting down with the guys today for staff. First staff meeting will be tomorrow. But I've kind of met with guys individually saying, okay, here's what we're doing. First, step one, let's evaluate our roster. So we're really just starting that process. Step two, evaluate the free agents. Everybody got their list, okay? Step three, now, going to the college guys. So that process has literally begun. So really not ready to address the specifics of that because we're really just beginning.
So he didn't say no. He left the door open. But what it sounds like is they're taking their time. And that lends itself to the other part of this conversation, whereas a resolution to where Derek Carr signs, where he plays, is going to take a while. And his brother David alluded to that as well on the NFL Network last night.
It's honestly, it's going to be a long process, though. He really only has the Saints, the Raiders, and the Jets to kind of compare those three places. And so he wants to do his due diligence and see as many places as he can to get a feel for what the best place for him will be.
So that's where it becomes very, very interesting with the New York Jets, is the timeline. And for the Saints as well, and I guess the Panthers to some extent, but Frank Reich sounded like he was in absolutely no hurry to bring Derek Carr in for a visit. And those have been the three teams most of all talked about with Derek Carr, at least publicly. For the New York Jets, there's also Aaron Rodgers. Do they want to pursue Aaron Rodgers? We told you with Darlington's report that they feel like Derek Carr can bring them a championship. If they really feel like that, they're in for a rude awakening probably. I don't think Derek Carr is at that point in his career anymore where he could be considered that. I don't really know if Derek Carr ever really reached that point in his career where he could be considered a quarterback capable of winning a Super Bowl for a franchise. Aaron Rodgers absolutely is. But Aaron Rodgers, just another curious offseason with Aaron Rodgers. He's on his darkness retreat. Do you want to wait for that and potentially miss out on both quarterbacks? That's your question if you're the New York Jets. Because Aaron Rodgers, while everyone's talking about where he's going to land, his connections with Nathaniel Hackett at the Jets, his connections here, his connections there, Aaron Rodgers has not publicly said he wants out of Green Bay. If anything, he said it's always going to be home. He said that on the Pat McAfee show. So if you're the Jets, do you really want to risk losing both guys? If you wait to talk with Aaron Rodgers and the Saints or Carolina or someone else nabs up Derek Carr and you're sitting there kind of just with your arms in the air, oh, what happened? Now you have nobody. You're back to Zach Wilson. That's something that they have to answer. And again, Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback who can lead you to a championship. You think Derek Carr is. For the Saints, Derek Carr is really their only option in free agency. If it's not Derek Carr, you're bringing back Andy Dalton. You can't afford Aaron Rodgers. Another interesting part of that is Derek Carr's money. What does he want? He was going to have $40 million guaranteed over the next 2 seasons. Passed that up. Could have accepted a trade somewhere, had a reworked deal, and things of that nature. Didn't do it. Spotrac lists his value around $30 million. The Saints are not going to give Derek Carr $30 million because I don't think they can flat out really afford $30 million for Derek Carr with the cap situation. Who am I to doubt them? They pull off gymnastics and wizardry every single year and somehow sign players and give contracts and do all of that. So maybe they could. Derek Carr, probably not really worth the $30 million that Spotrac is putting out there. The New York Jets can't afford that. So if it's about winning in money, then the New York Jets can absolutely swoop in and take Derek Carr from the Saints' grasp. If they're actually entertaining Aaron Rodgers, they're willing to spend. Because Aaron Rodgers is not coming cheap. Even this late in his career. 2 out of the last 3 seasons, he was the NFL MVP. He can still play at a very high level. So I understand Derek Carr is going to take his time with this process. Mentioned it a little bit yesterday. I want to see if the Saints start to get really aggressive in their pursuit for Derek Carr. And in turn, if the Jets do so as well. If the Saints can kind of force the Jets' hands on, okay, decide. Do you want Derek Carr? Do you want Aaron Rodgers? And if they pick Aaron Rodgers, can the Saints swoop in and grab Derek Carr? I'm a fan of that option for the New Orleans Saints. I think Derek Carr can come in and be a great stopgap for you for 2 years or so. I think he's a better option than Andy Dalton, as I think most of you listening probably do as well. And as I said, kind of to start this segment, my preferred strategy for them is get that veteran, preferably Derek Carr, and then draft a quarterback in the draft who you think can be your future, preferably Hendon Hooker. It's going to be interesting. It's nowhere near over, it feels like. You've heard now back-to-back days, everyone saying this is going to be a long, drawn-out process for Derek Carr, but at least you have another domino that has fallen in Carolina, not totally closing the door, but leaving it ajar. But they feel like they're not super interested in Derek Carr. Right now, feels like it's a 2-team race between the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets. And 2 teams who are in very different positions in their ability to acquire Derek Carr as well. So it'll continue to be a hot topic throughout the NFL offseason. Also, aside from that, keeping in the theme with Saints free agency, I want to explore another position outside of quarterback that maybe the Saints look to add in free agency. We'll do that at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, so stay here for that as well. Right now, we're going to grab our first break here in the 4 o'clock hour, come back on the other side, get you an update of what's going on at Alex Box Stadium, LSU adding to their lead versus the crosstown rival Southern Jaguars. We'll update the latest on that when we return here on After Further Review on a Tuesday.
AFR.
Brought to you by New Orleans Flooring, online at nolaflooring.com. 2 locations, Metairie and, of course, Airline Highway in Prairieville. If you're going south on Airline in Prairieville, you pass the Walmart, look to the right. You can't miss it. It's New Orleans Flooring. Go to nolaflooring.com, nolaflooring.com. The thing that really sets them apart, look, they've got amazing people. You can go see Terrell. You can go see Big Sean. Great people there. They got everyday low prices. You can get the free in-home estimate. They got the mobile showroom. You can get inspired there on the website. It's a great resource to go to. Financing is available. But what sets them apart more than anything is they cut out the middleman. Because they have more than 1 million square foot of product in stock, they cut out the middleman, and they can give you the best price. I mean, you're talking about saving 40, 50, 60% on flooring. Go where the pros go. Go to New Orleans Flooring. That's nolaflooring.com. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, and online at nolaflooring.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Moon Griffon is back, the voice of Louisiana politics.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Remember, download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. Great NBA special this week. Make a $5 money line bet on any NBA game. They'll give you $150 in free bets if it hits. That's at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers, use the promo code Baton Rouge. Make a $5 money line bet on any NBA game. If it hits, they'll give you $150 in free bets. You got stepped up same game parlays. You got so many things on the table to make the games more interesting, more fun, more exciting when you're in the game. Of course, you know, Otterlocks is coming up, so you want to be betting, make sure you download that DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus issued as free bets. Opt-in required. One free bet issued based on amount of initial losing NBA bet. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Licensing partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537.
This song, one, is fantastic. My Band by D12. It is so unnecessary, though. It's so uncalled for. A lot of things that Eminem did were very uncalled for. This song is near the top of the list. It's a great song, and I'd be lying if I told you I didn't listen to this song in full probably about 2 weeks ago because it's just fantastic. But it's just so uncalled for. Great choice, though. I appreciate. I mean, it's fantastic. I do love some D12 there. Old Eminem, man. Old Eminem, the bleached hair Eminem, just a different animal, man, altogether. That guy, whew, he got on the mic and just did not care. That's for said whatever came to mind and made it rhyme and sold a lot of records. So we've had a few Eminem conversations on this show as of late, featuring him in overrated and underrated, things of that nature. All right, we've got a pitching change at the bottom. That concludes the Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, Eminem portion of the Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review. Pitching change for the Tigers at the box. A lot to get you caught up with here with LSU and Southern, and I have thoughts on some of it as well. Christian Little lifted after 3 2/3 shutout innings of relief. He was fantastic again, and that's a huge takeaway to have. I mean, we talked about it a little bit at one of our last updates. He was awesome on Friday when he came in. He was arguably even better here. It was a bit of a leverage spot. He came in to relieve Thatcher Hurd, who got the start with the bases loaded and nobody out. He got out of the inning, did allow a couple of the inherited runners to score, of course, on a single and then a walk. That's what drove it in. So the single drove in one, the walk drove in the other. It was 4-0 by the time he left. All those runs were charged to Hurd. So 3 2/3 shutout for Little. After that inning, he was great. He was perfect again. Didn't allow a run, didn't allow a hit, didn't walk anybody. He struck out 6. This is a fantastic development for LSU early in the season. The versatility of Christian Little. He chewed up innings, got you to the back half of this game, and now we're going to get to see the debut of freshman Griffin Herring. And this is something that I have been waiting for. Outside of the debut of Thatcher Hurd today in an LSU uniform, getting to see Griffin Herring, I fully expected him to pitch. Now he's on the mound. His first pitch was a strike. Griffin Herring is somebody who has such a bright future at LSU. I mean, this is a true freshman from South Lake Carroll High School in Texas. 4-pitch mix already. The velocity kind of took an uptick in his time since high school, and just in a short time at LSU. He's now in the low 90s with the fastball, where in his senior year in high school it was more 88 to 89. You touch a 90 every now and then. It is consistently in the low 90s now, and he, again, a very good changeup already and a nice breaking ball. He's a guy who's got a starter profile that will probably factor into the rotation later in his career at LSU. My biggest question for Griffin Herring, who, by the way, got a ground out back to himself, so a 1-3 put out that ends the 6th inning for Southern. LSU leads 13-4. We'll talk a little bit about how they got there momentarily. To Griffin Herring, though, one of the main questions I had about him this season was, could he factor into the weekend as a true freshman? Not necessarily rotation, but out of the bullpen, because the stuff is already so good, and he showed really nice command, especially late in the preseason practice period, that I wanted to see, could someone else step up from the left side, especially since they moved Riley Cooper into the starting rotation to start the year. That leaves you with just one lefty out of the bullpen, which is the situation you were in last year. And look, Nate Ackenhausen is very good. You saw his debut over the weekend, and he was awesome for 3 1/3. Closed out the game for you on Saturday. But it's the position you were in last year before the emergence of Jacob Hasty. You just had Riley Cooper. You had that one lefty. So I think, again, we all expect at some point Riley Cooper to move back to the bullpen, which would give you 2. But in the meantime, could a guy like Griffin Herring step up into that role, be a second lefty, and then potentially a third even, if and when Riley Cooper does move back into that bullpen role for LSU where he's been so good. So a great start for Griffin Herring. Gets the first batter he faces, again on a ground out back to the mound to end the 6th inning. Fired up to see the rest of him here today. You know they're going to give him the 7th and maybe even a little bit further than that. But a guy with a very bright future in an LSU uniform, getting his first taste of action right now. Told you LSU leads Southern 13-4 now, and a little bit of a recap maybe of how they got there if you aren't watching the baseball game right now. It was another 5 spot. LSU, the bats have exploded here, which I know is going to make many in the fan base happy, because that was kind of the narrative coming out of the weekend. You know, an inferior opponent like Western Michigan, where was the offense? A lot of people expected more than 24 runs. I went through a whole spiel yesterday on the show about how I thought the offense was actually pretty darn good, and they did a lot of things situationally well. Well, today you're getting the onslaught that many expected. You look here at the bottom of the 5th inning, LSU's latest 5 spot, and you had a new pitcher come in for Southern. Jordan Thompson greeted him with a double down the left field line. He advanced to third on a Ben DePolt fly out, another sacrifice for Ben DePolt, moving the offense. Also more production at the bottom of your lineup. Thompson in the 8-hole, Nippolt in the 9. Jordan Thompson would score from third on a wild pitch. Josh Pearson at the top of the order struck out looking. Dylan Cruz was hit. He then stole second, and this is where it got out of hand for Southern. Braden Joubert walked. Gavin Dugas was hit by the pitch, and that loaded the bases. And then Trey Morgan came up and tripled to left center. His 3rd hit of the day, clearing the bases, 3 RBI. Jared Jones would follow that up with a single up the middle, scoring Morgan. And then Brady Neal would strike out looking to end the inning. But it's why I'm so bullish on LSU's offense this year is because of the production you're going to get from the bottom of the order. And a guy like Ben DePolt is huge to that. We talked about it yesterday. He was 0 for 7 over the weekend, but he drove in 4 runs. That was tied for the most on LSU's team through the first weekend. He didn't strike out at all. Every time he put the ball in play and good things happened. And again, here you go. He flies out the center. It's not a hit, but it advances Thompson to third with less than 2 outs, and he scores on a wild pitch. There's so many more ways. And that's the bottom of your order. And then you flip it over and allow the big uglies at the top to do the damage. The Dylan Cruz, the Braden Jobert, the Trey Morgan. That is ultimately what LSU will have the majority of this year. They're going to have that production 1 through 9. They're going to have that production from the bottom of the order. They're too talented. They are too talented and too deep, this year's team, to not have production 1 through 9. There's no excuse with the depth and level of talent that depth produces for LSU this year. So it was great. And again, I'll say it one more time. Seeing Trey Morgan have the day he's having right now is awesome, because it was needed after an 0 for 8 weekend for Morgan. He's 3 for 4 with 5 RBI today for LSU. The average is already back up to 250, and you're seeing Jared Jones just continue to rake as a true freshman. Hit his first career homer today for LSU. He's up to 600, 2 for 2 with 3 RBI. Morgan and Jones in the middle of that order, hitting 5 and 6 are doing major damage today for LSU. So here you go. Here's your offensive onslaught that many wanted to see this weekend. You're seeing it now. LSU, they did great things offensively. It just didn't fall. The hits didn't fall in for them. They left some guys on base. It's going to happen. After a slow start today, they have now put up 2 5 spots and a 3 spot sandwiched in between, and they just drove in their first run of the 6th inning to double up Southern 14-4, or to take a 10-run lead, I should say, 14-4 over the Jaguars. So the route is on at Alex Box Stadium. We'll have a full recap of the game for you. Final thoughts on it in the 5 o'clock hour here to close it out. Right now, we've got more football to talk about, though, coming up in the next segment. But 14-4, LSU leads Southern. Well on their way to moving to 4-0 on the season and heading to the Round Rock Classic this weekend, where they'll face Kansas State, Iowa, and Sam Houston State. So you'll take an uptick in competition. LSU will this weekend. I have a few thoughts on how we want to do that, because it's going to be a situation real similar on Friday to right now. That game starts at 2:00. LSU is going to be playing while we're on air here, so we won't really get you a full Kansas State preview. We'll do that on Thursday instead, since they'll be on the air. We'll give you a preview of LSU Kansas State Thursday, and then Friday, kind of keep you up to date on that game, but also preview the weekend where they'll face Iowa and their stud righty, Brody Brecht, and of course close it out on Sunday evening, 4 p.m. first pitch with Sam Houston State. So that's kind of how that structure will work as we get through the rest of the week as it pertains to LSU baseball, because they're leaving tomorrow for Round Rock, and you won't get to talk to Jay Johnson except for after this game. So that's kind of the lay of the land there. We'll grab a break, come back on the other side. On 3 Sports, they ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in college football for 2023. Jaden Daniels is on the list. We'll tell you where next here on After Further Review.
AFR.
By Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Any of the 4 locations, tell you every single day. Buy local, shop local over at Clegg's Nursery. Remember, this is the perfect time of year to plant trees and shrubs. They have a great selection of citrus trees right now over at Clegg's Nursery. So maybe you want some privacy shrubs from your neighbors. Clegg's has a great selection, great inventory, so get on by and see our friends at Clegg's Nursery. Any of the 4 locations, you know where they are all over town. They've been an institution for more than 60 years. And remember, Clegg's is partnered with True Value Hardware Store. So anything you'd find at a True Value Hardware Store, you'll also find at Clegg's Nursery. So if you're a green thumb or a do-it-yourselfer, it's one-stop shop at Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $10,000 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green. This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
So I was over at Traction this morning training with my guy Tevin Moten, and incredible, man. You're in there and you see Ethan Posick, see Bobby Bradley of the Cleveland Indians, see all these professional athletes, and then on the field you see a young tennis player from Parkview or any young athlete in any different sport. The bottom line is, with Traction, what they have done there, and they love to say Traction's where champions are made. Traction has built a facility that caters to elite athletes at the highest level of competition, and they take the same facilities, the same trainers, the same programs, and allow your young athlete to maximize their ability. So if it's sports performance, if it's skill training, if it's physical therapy, it's Traction. TractionSports.com. Go to TractionSports.com. Simply put, there's nothing like Traction here. It's Traction, where champions are made.
Just got a text from Jimmy Ott. That's always a good thing, man. When you get, because you know what that means? It means money is potentially about to be made. We got a 5:30 tip from the Otter. Early pick here. Of course, Jimmy will be along to close out the show with us for Otterlocks in his normal spot. But have to give it out to you right here. Xavier -4. It's a 5:30 tip. Otter likes Xavier, the Musketeers tonight. Looking for a bounce back. Illinois play didn't hit last night. We're laying 14 with the Illini up in Champaign. They won the game, just not by 14. So we're looking for the bounce back. Xavier -4 That goes at 5:30. They are playing Villanova. So 16th ranked Xavier playing Villanova at 5:30. It's 4.5s out there. Remember, buy the half a point down to 4. Otterlocks Xavier -4. Otterlocks to wrap the show at 5:45. But there you go. Little taste, little early taste to get you excited for what the Otter has coming up for you a little bit later on. All right, been teasing it a good bit all show. We'll get back to some LSU football here. And then again, of course, Wilson Alexander will be with us to start next hour talking LSU football, the happenings of today, whether it be Brian Polian or Malik Neighbors' arrest. And I'm going to ask him about quarterbacks as well as a spring practice gets underway on March the 9th. And it's never a dull moment when you're talking quarterbacks and LSU football, it feels like. And it has gotten a little bit maybe hairier, I guess, a little bit with Garrett Nussmeier's emergence a little bit towards the end of last season in some people's eyes. Brian Kelly, if you'll remember after the Citrus Bowl, was talking about quarterback because, look, we all remember what happened. You had the ankle injury to Jaden Daniels. He ends up leaving the SEC, tried to play through it, ended up leaving the SEC championship game. Garrett Nussmeier gets time in the second half, led LSU on a couple nice touchdown drives. LSU moved the ball really, really well in the second half against that vaunted Georgia defense. Moved it well throughout the entire game, really. And then when it came to the Citrus Bowl, you saw Nussmeier and Daniels really split time and both have great success leading the LSU offense against just a depleted Purdue team in that game en route to a 63-7 win. And it kind of sparked questions immediately there after the game. And Brian Kelly said, there's no quarterback controversy. Jaden Daniels is the clear starter, but Garrett will have the chance to compete. There was the but, and he worded it really strangely, speaking, you can't close the door. You have to keep an open mind when you have two quarterbacks of this caliber. And that kind of, although he said there's no quarterback controversy, some people are kind of taking, okay, yeah, but what's with the open mind and keeping the door open and whatnot? This list from On3 Sports should eliminate any conversation of quarterback controversy, at least to start the season. So On3 Sports, they ranked the top 10 quarterbacks for 2023 in college football. Obviously, Jaden Daniels decided to return to LSU for his final year of eligibility, foregoing an NFL draft slot. And comes off of a really nice first year at LSU where he threw for a shade under 3,000 yards, 2,913, 17 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, and set LSU rushing records when it came to a quarterback, 885 on the ground, 11 touchdowns, and helped LSU win the SEC Western Division in his first year, and now looks to build upon that. A little bit just on this list before we get into it a little bit, 7 of the 10 quarterbacks ranked in the top 10, all transferred into their current college. That includes Jaden Daniels as well. It includes the guy who ranked number 1 on this list, and that is Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams. That shouldn't come really as any surprise to you. He was followed by Drake May, North Carolina. He was followed by Michael Penix Jr. at number 3 from Washington. Another transfer quarterback there in Penix Jr. Another transfer quarterback is at 4 in Bo Nix, who's now the Oregon quarterback. Sam Hartman, transfer quarterback at Notre Dame, came in at 5. Interesting, Jordan Travis, who LSU will see week 1 from Florida State, was number 6. And there's Jaden Daniels at number 7. And why it's significant that he's there at number 7, you might say, oh, 7. I mean, man, you thought he might be higher. Maybe. But go through the names we talked about before that, before Jaden Daniels. Go through them one more time. Caleb Williams, USC. Drake May, North Carolina. Michael Penix Jr., Washington. Bo Nix, Oregon. Sam Hartman, Notre Dame. Jordan Travis, Florida State. On3 Sports says that Jaden Daniels is the top-ranked returning quarterback in the SEC. That is significant. And maybe it's not that surprising to many when you look at what is returning elsewhere in the Southeastern Conference. KJ Jefferson, for what it's worth, was 2 spots behind Jaden Daniels at number 9, and then Devin Leary, who transferred into Kentucky, is there at number 10, but he's not a returning SEC quarterback. Jaden Daniels, according to On3 Sports, the top quarterback in the SEC for 2023. And again, Georgia's having to replace Stetson Bennett. Bryce Young is having to be replaced at Alabama. Maybe that's going to be Jalen Milroe. What you saw from Jalen Milroe last year wasn't necessarily great at Alabama. You can think to the second half of the Arkansas game. He was able to ice it with his legs, but when he had to start the next week against Texas A&M and really put forth the effort of playing quarterback, it did not go great for Jalen Milroe in Alabama. They almost lost that game, and he turned the ball over 3 or 4 times. I think it was 4 times. 3 of them were fumbles. So do you feel great if you're Alabama there? Maybe not. Jackson Dart was okay at Ole Miss, and until he enters the transfer portal or doesn't, he is a returning quarterback. Maybe he enters the transfer portal, and you're looking at a quarterback battle there involving Walker Howard at Ole Miss. We mentioned Stetson Bennett at Georgia again. Auburn, obviously, I mean, look, you're looking at Robbie Ashford potentially there returning. Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. So it's not, you're having to replace Anthony Richardson if you're Florida. It's not an incredibly deep class in the SEC, but for Jaden Daniels, when there are guys like KJ Jefferson, when there is somebody like a Devin Leary entering the SEC who's had plenty of success in his time at NC State, for Jaden Daniels to be ranked there, that's telling. And that eliminates quarterback controversy for me. And it also speaks to what LSU's expectations should be this season. So not only are you returning everybody offensively, now you're returning what at least one publication says is the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, coming off of a trip to Atlanta already. There's been a lot of talk. Should LSU be considered the favorite for the SEC West? This lends credence to the fact that yes, they should. Even over Alabama. Over Texas A&M, who is going to get bouquets for the offseason. They're still very talented, and it's a huge year for Jimbo, and they're going to be looked at as, I mean, tell me right now, if you're going to do this preseason, who would you have third in the West? Ole Miss? Well, they're a little unsettled at quarterback and potentially could get a little bit more unsettled there. They had a hot start last year off an easy schedule and faded down the stretch. A&M's going to get third place votes for the SEC West. It's not going to be Arkansas. It's not going to be Auburn with a first-year head coach in Hugh Freeze and still having to rebuild that roster. They're going to get a lot of hype again. So for you to be picked ahead of them is something significant in a sense. You're obviously a better football team than them. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying it's going to come down to LSU and Alabama. And right now you have the edge at quarterback over that team. And you beat them last year when you didn't. You have to go on the road. It'll be a lot more difficult, obviously, and that game's a long way away. We're a long way away from November 4th. But, yeah, this is more evidence right now that LSU should be the favorite in a lot of people's minds to win the SEC West and make back-to-back trips to Atlanta for the first time in program history. It is set up. The stage is set up for that. You just have to go out and execute it. And it's a further, the other thing that this is a further, it's further recognition of the job that Jaden Daniels did for LSU last year. When there were inconsistencies and so many wondered, okay, when do you replace him? When does Nuss get the shot? When does he take the back seat? You're not in the position you were in last year without him. We don't have to rehash that entire conversation. Lord knows it's been had plenty. But this is further validation of that now a publication like On3 Sports is ranking him as the top quarterback returning in the Southeastern Conference. Get excited, man. It's going to be a fun fall for LSU and a pretty manageable schedule, honestly, too. And it's just the anticipation keeps building. Football season never really ends, but somehow the anticipation can keep building time and time again, and that's what this news does as well. So Jaden Daniels, at least according to On3 Sports, the top quarterback in the SEC for 2023, number 7 overall in the country. And Jordan Travis being at number 6, that adds another level of intrigue to that game, to the opener, and another even higher level of importance to getting that victory over Florida State week 1 on Labor Day weekend there in Orlando. So going to be probably a top 10 matchup, at worst a top 15 matchup, and you're going to have what looks like the premier quarterback matchup now in that game in that week as well, with Jordan Travis facing off against Jaden Daniels. Football season, it's far away, but it's not far away. The Tigers are open. They will open spring practice on March the 9th. We will have more LSU football conversation coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate will join us, and we'll talk Jaden Daniels as well in that segment as well. Anytime you mention LSU football from here on out, Jaden Daniels is going to be a bullet point on that conversation, as he's been really since he arrived here last summer. Grab a break, come back on the other side. We'll wrap the 4 o'clock hour up with Tigers and the Pros. It's After Further Review here on Mardi Gras. Come back with us.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Tell you every day, do business with someone you know. That's us. That's me. That's Ryan Terrio. That's Richard Tilley. And no matter where you are in the state of Louisiana, if you have an issue with your roof, we can help. From the smallest residential repair to the largest commercial job, we got the crews, staff, all of the products ready to roll to help you today. So give us a shout at Hudco Roofing. Again, in the 225, the 504, the 337, the 318, we'd love to help you at Hudco Roofing. And we're never going to oversell something. For example, we got a great coating product. Maybe a roof replacement isn't what's best. Maybe it can be repaired, or a coating product, which is about half the price of a roof replacement and comes with a 20-year guarantee. We'd love to go over the options with you. It's Hudco Roofing. Online, HudcoRoofing.com. That's HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing and HudcoRoofing.com.
I'm Chris Nakamoto. Happy Mardi Gras. Here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. The city parish is looking into a blight situation off of Government Street, where seagoing vessels' lifeboats ended up dumped in a lot near the electric depot. The lifeboats are now being used as a shelter and home for many of the city's homeless. People in the area call it trashy and want to see the city do something about it. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
I'm giving you updates all throughout the show on what's been happening at Alex Box Stadium. LSU, of course, in action versus Southern. The game is now gone final. A run rule victory for LSU in the 7th inning, 18-4, your final score. We'll have a full recap of the game in the final hour of the show, in the last hour of the show. Give you some thoughts there on LSU Southern. Surface level, a great victory for LSU. They're 4-0, and the bats really responded and came alive after a slow start in this one, and they end up putting up 18 runs, and you get the run rule, which interestingly enough, we have the 10-run rule in the SEC now after 7 innings. Regardless, in the midweek, it's still how it used to be. The two coaches and programs have to agree prior to the game. So Southern and LSU obviously had that worked out, and the Tigers come out victorious 18-4 over Southern, moved to 4-0 on the season, and now they'll head to Round Rock, Texas for the Carbach Round Rock Classic. They'll face Kansas State, Iowa, and Sam Houston State. Again, we'll have a full recap of LSU Southern in the next hour of the show. Right now, though, we'll wrap hour number 2 with Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
So, there's not a lot of times throughout this year with seasons overlapping and LSU having so many guys in different professional leagues that it's hard to find content for Tigers in the Pros. Today was difficult, and we're reaching a little bit today, but we're going to bring it to you. You got to think, NBA All-Star break, no spring training games yet in Major League Baseball, NFL obviously in the offseason, kind of tough. We had XFL yesterday, kind of tough. So we're reaching a little bit, but there was the USFL draft today, college, and although he didn't end his career as an LSU Tiger, he started his career, his very long career, I might add, as an LSU Tiger. So we'll give him a nod. We're talking about Lindsey Scott, picked second overall in the USFL draft today by the Pittsburgh Maulers. I know you're probably shocked. His college career is finally over after about 7 seasons. But Lindsey Scott on to the next level. It was a great college career. Again, started at LSU, so we'll give him a hat tip. Second overall to the Pittsburgh Maulers. And that was it. We tried to keep our finger on the pulse there a lot in the USFL draft. Did not see any other LSU guys go. If we missed one, please let me know, and we'll give them their recognition. So we were kind of reaching, and Paul found this when it comes to former LSU basketball players. And this is Tremont Waters, Paul. So he's not in the NBA G League anymore. He's playing in France.
Yeah, he's playing in France. He plays for the Metropolitan 92. So that's also the team.
The 92s or the 92?
Just 92.
Oh, okay.
Metropolitans 92.
Okay.
Yeah, weird name.
Yeah, that's strange. I actually don't like that, but okay.
But
You think they go by the Mets, Paul? The Metropolitans?
Probably.
You think they go by the Mets?
Because that's what's on the jersey.
Yeah.
Mets 92.
Ah, so see, you hate them. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
So anyway, that's the team that the highly regarded #1 overall pick in the next year's NBA draft, Victor Wembanyama. That's who he plays for.
I don't know how to say it, so I mean.
So Victor Wembanyama is listed at 7'2". Tremont Waters is listed at 5'10".
Uh-oh.
So this picture is going around the internet. They're not technically standing side by side. It's more of like an optical illusion with like Wembanyama in the foreground and Tremont Waters in the background. But there's a drastic height difference there.
That is insane. So in this picture, if you're not watching, it looks like Tremont Waters comes up to this guy's waist. And look, as a short guy, I can sympathize with this. Like, I've been in this position plenty of times. This picture needs to go in the Hall of Fame of like Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve, or Derrick Henry standing next to Mark Ingram at the, like, that's what this picture reminds me of. That is a striking difference.
It also reminds me of like Kyler Murray memes where they just make him really, really small?
Yes, those are great. I like those a lot, actually. I have a buddy that every time Kyler Murray does something, I just send him one of those. But again, I'm a short guy. I can do that. Like, that's okay. I can make short jokes to other short people. But I sympathize with Tremont Waters, man. I've been in that position many a time. That is ridiculous. If you haven't seen the picture and you're not watching, you can find it anywhere on Twitter. That's shocking. Best of luck to Tremont, though, also with the Metropolitans 92 of the French Basketball League. The Mets 92. We'll have to keep that in mind, give you some stats from Tremont. That's Tigers in the Pros, a very interesting, unorthodox edition of Tigers in the Pros, but nonetheless, it's still brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, and we encourage you to get in to Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry and get that special something for the special someone. Doesn't matter the occasion, anniversary, go to Lee Michaels, anniversary, Valentine's Day, that's already passed, Christmas, that's already passed, birthday, get into Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hour 3 next.
AFR.
All this month at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, great specials, even though Valentine's Day is already passed. Like $100 off lip filler. That's all this month over at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Also, they've got the absolute latest technology in microneedling, and all of those packages are deeply discounted this month as they introduce the new technology. I've told you this before. The Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana has been voted the nation's top aesthetic practice. That was at the Las Vegas National Aesthetic Show in Las Vegas. Voted the #1 aesthetic practice in the country. They're right here in Baton Rouge. Blue Bond in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette. If you want to look and feel like your younger self, the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana can help. Learn more online. Book that consultation. TheAntiAgingClinics.com. Again, online at TheAntiAgingClinics.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $10,000 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. Be the beat for your community. Go to heart.org to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking NBA news. The Hawks have fired coach Nate McMillan. Atlanta's 29-30, 8th in the East in a play-in spot. Assistant Joe Prunty will be interim coach. The Bulls ruled out guard Lonzo Ball the rest of the season. He continues to experience discomfort during basketball activities despite arthroscopic knee surgery before the season. The NFL's franchise tag window's open and some huge names could be tagged, like Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Baltimore can use the exclusive or non-exclusive tag on him as they try to work out a long-term contract. What the Ravens do with the former NFL MVP is a big deal, explains ESPN NFL reporter Jeff Darlington.
They could put on one of two tags, the exclusive or the non-exclusive. I do expect the Ravens to tag Lamar Jackson, but we need to be very clear about this. That does not mean necessarily that he will play on that tag in 2023. Instead, that is a stopgap to work toward a long-term extension.
Jeff Darlington on Get Up. NHL Avalanche star defenseman Cale Makar back in concussion protocol. He'll miss at least the next 2 games.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career you'll love with flexibility, great pay, and benefits, and one of the country's top workplaces? Come join their growing team. Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
Welcome in, hour number 3 after further review. Matt Musso filling in for Matt Moscona all week. Scones in Napa. He'll be back on Monday. Jacob Beck and Paul O'Neill along for the ride. They're here all week, too. Jacob's filling in. Paul's not. Paul's here every day. I cannot wait to actually recap this LSU Southern game because Trey Morgan hit for the cycle, and I'm fired up about it. But before we get to that, we will continue to talk some LSU football. Plenty of storylines today out of football ops. For that, we welcome on Wilson Alexander from The Advocate, covers LSU football for The Advocate. Wilson, we appreciate the time as always. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras, man. Yeah, I've spent it, in downtown Baton Rouge in an office all day. But yeah, happy Mardi Gras. It's always a great time of year, and it's carnival season never disappoints. So happy Mardi Gras. It also was a very newsy day surrounding LSU football. Brian Polian, of course, and then Malik Neighbors. I want to start with Neighbors. Obviously, the arrest last night in New Orleans on a weapons charge. LSU still has not released an official statement on the matter. Is there anything that you can update us on, Wilson, regarding Malik Neighbors?
Yes, he was on, according to police documents that we obtained, he was on Bourbon Street when police noticed an L-shaped object in his pocket. They asked him, he had obviously that was identified as a gun. They asked if he had a permit, and he said that he did not. So they took him, arrested him, and he was booked on an illegal weapons charge. This is a misdemeanor, and he was scheduled to appear in court today at 3 p.m. in New Orleans. And that's the extent of what we know about the situation right now. It doesn't sound like it was maybe serious, of course, being described as a misdemeanor. And so we don't have anything else yet from LSU about the situation.
We'll wait further comment from LSU, but for what it's worth, also Malik Neighbors released on his own recognizance this morning from prison, appeared in court, as you heard from Will, or was scheduled to appear in court there, as you heard from Wilson Alexander. We'll keep you updated as that situation goes further. Wilson, when I originally reached out to you before that news officially broke, it was about Brian Polian and him moving into an off-the-field role, kind of more of a GM role, as opposed to special teams coordinator. Just first, before we get into what that role is and where LSU goes from here, your overall reaction to the decision to demote Brian Polian.
This doesn't really come as a surprise. There had been sort of rumblings about this. Certainly fan interest had been on this topic really ever since last season, wondering if Brian Kelly would make some kind of a change because of what we saw out of LSU special teams last year, muff punts, coverage units that weren't very good. Of course, depth issues on the roster maybe contributed to that in some way, but just the execution wasn't at a level that LSU would expect to have. And so to make some kind of change wasn't a surprise, especially to do it in this way, because Brian Polian has also been very influential in the rebuilding of this roster. And now he gets to really do that full time. His sole focus will be on things like NIL and the transfer portal and recruiting and just daily operations in the program, helping Brian Kelly, because they are quite close, as people know. They were together for 5 years at Notre Dame. He was the only Notre Dame assistant to come with him to LSU. And so now he'll do a lot more of that stuff on a full-time basis.
Is this kind of a similar role to what Austin Thomas did at LSU?
In some ways, yes, as I understand it. I'll be interested to hear once we can, ask Brian Kelly more about it, what he says, because he was familiar with what Austin Thomas did at LSU, but there's a little bit more in play these days. NIL was still in the first, I guess, within the first year or so of having NIL when Austin was there. The transfer portal wasn't quite as active, although it was certainly getting much bigger. But you didn't have the pre-designed windows and that kind of thing. So I think in a lot of ways it's easy to think of it in a similar role, but there's a little bit more to it maybe these days in terms of what goes into being a general manager now, just because there are so many things that someone in that position would have to think about because of what we have in college football.
So it's obviously early in the process here. I mean, the news just coming down today. LSU just announcing it strategically on Mardi Gras Day, slipping it in there. Wilson Alexander for The Advocate is our guest on Twitter at WHAlexander_. Wilson, again, I know it's early. Is there any names potentially that you're hearing, though, as possible replacements for Brian Polian on staff?
I haven't heard any names yet, unfortunately. I don't have any there for you yet.
Well, that's okay. I have something else. Recruiting coordinator. Brian Polian also doubled as that. What do they do with that position on staff? Is that something they just promote within?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because Brian Polian will still be heavily involved. We might not see somebody with a straight-up recruiting coordinator title now. I'm not exactly sure because he's still going to be involved in a lot of the stuff that goes into building the roster, including recruiting and just identifying needs across the board, and then how they disperse that throughout the roster with their big recruiting department. And there's so many people that are in part of that operation with Will Redmond, J.R. Belton, and Sherman Wilson and Jordan Arsaman, people, who are part of that whole just recruiting, machine of sorts, that I'm not sure if they're going to have just a separate recruiting coordinator, because Polian will still be involved in that. Frank Wilson has always been a big piece of that as well, with all of his ties and connections and just institutional knowledge of Louisiana. So they might not have to just hire another recruiting coordinator, or at least somebody with that title, because there's so many people that it's already sort of set up to run without one maybe person having that name.
Moving one guy, it can change so much on staff. It really is crazy. Wilson, I kind of want to talk a little bit just about the team in general as well. I mean, they're going to open up spring practice on March the 9th, and one thing that's going to be interesting, at least on the offensive side of the ball, will be quarterback. Jaden Daniels, great year last year, is receiving recognition already heading into the 2023 season. You did kind of see a bit of a two-quarterback system, and Brian Kelly, after the Citrus Bowl, when asked about quarterback controversy, said there is none. Jaden's the starter, but then really kind of awkwardly left the door open about, well, you can't be closed-minded when you have two really good quarterbacks. What exactly do you expect to see from that competition when they do take the field for the first time on March 9th for spring?
It's going to be fascinating how much Garrett Nussmeier can really push for this spot or push for a two-quarterback system. And it probably comes down to, in many ways, what Garrett Nussmeier shows, again, here heading into his second full spring with this staff, third season in college football. We saw these flashes in the postseason. How much can he really push for a spot here? Because Jaden Daniels is, the returning starter, as Brian Kelly said. He's expected to take those first snaps against Florida State. He had as much as people got on him justifiably about his downfield passing last year, he still had a really productive year. And if he can take another step, he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC next year if he can continue to grow as a passer because of everything that he offers. So I'm interested.
Are you there, Wilson?
Not sure.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, sorry, there was a sudden advertisement for Brett Goff right here, and I'm not really sure what happened. And so we'll have to just kind of see how that shakes out, and just if Garrett Nussmeier can really push for it. I don't think it's like a really a controversial spot. I don't think there's any quarterback controversy necessarily, but Garrett's going to have the chance to compete, like Brian Kelly said, because that's the way this staff approaches every single position is competition. Nobody has necessarily a secure spot, but Garrett's going to have to go out and prove that he needs to be on the field.
Wilson Alexander covers LSU football for The Advocate. He's our guest on Twitter at WHAlexander_. Wilson, going into spring, I wanted to do a little exercise with you real quick on each side of the ball. Let's start offense. We just did quarterback. Is there another position group on the offense that you're most excited to have questions answered about when they start spring practice?
Probably just running back, which maybe it sort of came to mind when you said it, just because there is such a cluster of guys there with John Emery and Josh Williams and Noah Kane and Armani Goodwin coming off, his knee injury. You got two freshmen, one of whom is early enrolled, Trey Holly. Does somebody really, really assert themselves, or do they continue to go running back by committee? How do they end up using these guys? Because they've got some sort of variance in their skill sets. I think that because there's so much that's kind of already settled on the offensive side, running back really kind of stands out to me, and as well as maybe just who else at receiver pops up kind of around Malik Neighbors. How does Aaron Anderson sort of fit into the equation, and some guys like that I think will be the interesting things to watch on the offensive side.
Same thing on defense. Position group you're most excited to watch take shape during spring?
Cornerback, for sure. There's just so much change happening there. You got only the two returning players with LaTerrence Welch and Seven Banks. So many guys brought in. 4 transfers, 3 freshmen. It's going to be fascinating to watch that competition unfold because there's things to like about a lot of these guys and a lot of question marks about them too. As good as Denver Harris seems like he could be, he had the discipline issues at Texas A&M. He only played about half a season before he was indefinitely suspended. So how does he, kind of play in his second year in college? Deuce Chestnut coming over from Syracuse. I mean, there's a lot to like about him, and he's probably the most proven of the bunch. But can he go and take a spot from, somebody like J.K. Johnson, who started 5 games at Ohio State? There's so many sort of intriguing possibilities in that cornerback room. I can't wait to watch that one unfold.
He is Wilson Alexander covering LSU football for The Advocate. Again, on Twitter at WHAlexander_. Y'all give him a follow. Read his stuff. He does great work. Wilson, we appreciate some time on this holiday. Happy Mardi Gras, and we thank you.
Happy Mardi Gras, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So there you have it, Wilson Alexander. A little bit of the news of the day with LSU football and what to look forward to for the spring, man. It's going to be interesting. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the last hour. LSU, they have a shot to really go into this season as the favorite to win the SEC West and make back-to-back trips to Atlanta for the first time in program history. And a lot of that's going to start with Jaden Daniels. How much will Garrett Nussmeier push him? A change up on the staff, what they do at recruiting coordinator, I think is going to be very interesting, especially that's the title that Brian Polian held. You heard Wilson say it could just be a bunch of guys chipping in to take that role now, and they'll go hire a special teams coordinator. Still early. No names really from Wilson yet to keep an eye on. That's okay. Kind of expected that. I mean, the news broke hours ago, but you kind of got to ask. So, and then, of course, Malik Neighbors. That's about as good as news as really as you can hope when somebody's arrested on an illegal weapons charge, misdemeanor, released on his own recognizance, and I'm sure we're still awaiting an official statement from LSU. There will, I'm sure, be disciplinary in action, but hopefully not to the level of having to miss a game or anything of that nature. We'll keep you updated on that. Thanks to Wilson, of course, there. We are going to grab a break, come back on the other side, and talk some New Orleans Saints. Keep the football going. We all know about Derek Carr and that free agency, and the Saints are after him there. But is there another position that they should be looking at? We'll talk about it next here on After Further Review.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, and Bluebonnet. Dine in or carry out 24 flavors of award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold draft beer, full-service bar, and sports on TV. What more could you possibly want? How about sandwiches? Well, they've got those. What about salads? Pluckers actually has really underrated salads. Giant, gorgeous, fresh salads. You can actually eat healthy at Pluckers. Or you could just binge. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings tossed in your favorite sauce. You want to create your own menu item? Do it. They encourage the creativity. Great sides as well, like the cheese fries, the El Guapo dip, maybe the homemade blue cheese potato chips, holy macaroni, fried pickles. They got it all at Pluckers. Nicholson, just south of campus. Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. The best place to watch the game, which game? Any game, is at Pluckers, because you can eat wings, drink beer, and watch sports on TV. Remember, at Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community.
We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, I mean, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. williamsoneye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
Back here on a Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review, Musso filling in for Moscona all week long. All week long, I will be here. Continue some football conversations. It's been a great show so far, man. Honestly, we've had plenty of football talk today, actually, with all the news coming out of LSU. Jaden Daniels garnering some national recognition from On3 Sports today. Wilson Alexander just joined us in the last segment to kind of recap the day that has been with LSU football and look forward a little bit to spring practice, which gets underway March the 9th. right now. Oh, and we've talked a little bit of New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Now we're going to talk a little bit more New Orleans Saints because the free agency market obviously revolves around Derek Carr when it comes to the New Orleans Saints right now. But there's another spot on the team that is a huge position of need, that there are really good options available in the free agent market for the New Orleans Saints, and one that might become an even greater position of need depending on the outcome of certain offseason issues, and that position is running back. And the certain offseason issues is, once again, Alvin Kamara's legal troubles. We all know the story with Alvin Kamara, right? Alvin Kamara, right? He was involved in the fight outside of a club in Vegas. He was arrested, released, long drawn-out legal process all through last offseason. The suspension never came during the 2022 season, but so far already here in 23, Alvin Kamara has finally been indicted on those charges, and eventually, he will serve a 6-game suspension. Eventually, that will happen. And with him finally being indicted on those charges, it would stand to reason that eventually might be at some point in the 2023 campaign for the New Orleans Saints. So you have to have a backup plan there, and a good one, because the ones you have now aren't good. Y'all, the Saints running back room is bad. It's bad. You have Alvin Kamara, and behind him, you have Eno Benjamin and Dwayne Washington. That's it. You cannot go into a season potentially where Alvin Kamara will be suspended for 6 games with Eno Benjamin and Dwayne Washington as your running backs. That is a recipe for failure. Plain and simple. There's no two ways about it. That is a recipe for failure. You were in a bad way at the end of last year when you potentially thought Kamara could miss the game against Philly, and it would have been David Johnson, Eno Benjamin, Dwayne Washington. You cannot have Eno Benjamin and Dwayne Washington as your running backs with a possible 6-game suspension looming for Alvin Kamara. So what do? Obviously, there's the draft, right? And running back has been another highly sought after, highly talked about position for the Saints. Tajay Spears from Tulane is getting a lot of the buzz as, man, wouldn't that be great if the Saints could draft him? And it would. He's steadily rising up draft boards, especially after the performance he had at the Senior Bowl. So free agency, is that a spot you look for? And you have a really nice crop of free agent running backs in the NFL this year. Obviously, you can look just within your own team. Mark Ingram's a free agent. If you want to bring him back, that's an option for you. That's not something I would endorse. I think Mark Ingram's time in New Orleans needs to be over. I think Mark Ingram's time in New Orleans is over. And look, he had a great career with the New Orleans Saints. He's the all-time leading rusher in franchise history. He was part of teams that won a lot of games. But that time has passed. I think there are better options available. They might not come as cheap as a Mark Ingram, but depending on what you do at quarterback, if you don't get a Derek Carr, if you end up getting somebody on a rookie deal, trying to draft your future, or bringing Andy Dalton back cheap, that can open up more options for you in the running back market. You have to do your cap gymnastics. They will handle that. It's a nice crop of running backs in free agency, and I'd like to see the Saints take a swing at a couple of them. Obviously, there's some that you just flat out can't have. You can't have Saquon Barkley, right? If for no other reason, he's probably going to end up back with the New York Giants. If he doesn't, that's a cataclysmic failure on their part. But even if he didn't, you can't afford him. So you'd scratch someone like him off the list, right? Same thing with the Josh Jacobs. And again, he's probably going to end up back in Las Vegas anyway, but Josh Jacobs' projected value, or what he'd be owed by Spotrac, what his value is, $12.8 million. That's fourth among running backs. You don't afford that. Tony Pollard's interesting, but $9 million is probably going to be too much, and you can't do that either, right? There are two that I find very, very interesting. One of them is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is 27 years old. He recorded 678 yards from scrimmage this past season with the Cleveland Browns and 4 touchdowns. Not blow you away stats that you're normally used to seeing from a guy like Kareem Hunt, that you've seen from him in his past at Kansas City, and even in Cleveland in some time. The interesting part there is there were trade discussions involving Kareem Hunt. The Broncos The Browns were reportedly shopping him. Ultimately, he was not dealt, but that kind of tells you his time in Cleveland, probably over. He's probably not going to be brought back. And at 27 years old, a couple years removed from an 1,100-yard season and 11 touchdowns, that guy's got plenty of ball left, does Kareem Hunt. The problem with it is the price that it's going to probably cost, and it's probably out of the Saints' price range. Spotrac values a potential contract for Kareem Hunt to be $7 million a year. When you have Alvin Kamara on your roster, that's a little too much. Maybe you could work that down. It depends on what the market ends up looking like for Kareem Hunt here in free agency when it gets going in a couple of weeks, when the new league year goes. But that's probably out of the Saints' price range, unless, again, they can maybe get a discount depending on if the market isn't quite as lucrative as Spotrac thinks. The one that interests me the most is another 27-year-old. And it's Jamal Williams from the Detroit Lions. He's a veteran, but coming off of a career year. His first 1,000-yard rushing season, and led the NFL with 17 rushing touchdowns. So while he's 27, and we all know what age is with running backs in the NFL, and he's getting up there, and I understand that, he is coming off his best season of his career. And he did it in a contract year, and you might say, well, that's going to drive up the price. Well, again, keep in mind the veteran part of that knocks the price down a little bit. Projected annual for him via Spotrac is $4.1 million. Depending on what happens in free agency with the Saints at quarterback, they could swing that. Absolutely. They could make that happen. And if you do miss Alvin Kamara for 6 games this year via suspension, it'd be awesome to have a guy like Jamal Williams in the backfield to be your number one. The problem with it is it seems likely he ends up returning to Detroit. Dan Campbell and their running backs, they like Jamal Williams a lot. But I would still like to see the Saints kick the tires there, man. I think that would be awesome. I think that's your best option that you can afford if you're the New Orleans Saints to bring in as a free agent running back for this team where you need him. If it's not free agent, it doesn't matter. You have to address running back because it goes back to the original point. You can't go in with Alvin Kamara and then Benjamin and Dwayne Washington. That's not serviceable. That's not going to be it's a recipe for failure if you do that if you're the New Orleans Saints. I'd love to see him kick the tires on Jamal Williams. I think he would fit the offense great. I think he's coming off again a career year, so he's still got the legs even at 27. Same age as a guy like Kareem Hunt would cost you on average or projected average $3 million less for more production at the same age. The problem is you'd have to be able to pry him away from Detroit, and they look primed to potentially re-sign him. Something to consider, though, with the New Orleans Saints there. Another interesting name that I don't think it's not the same exact, but Rashad Penny from the Seattle Seahawks. He's also 27. You could get him on the cheap. I mean, he does not even have a projected value listed from Spotrac. For what it's worth, last March, it was a 1-year, $5.75 million deal he signed with Seattle. He's not going to command that after 346 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on just 57 carries. There's obviously numerous injuries in his past, and I get that, but he is a former first-round pick. And if you can't get a Jamal Williams or a Kareem Hunt and you want somebody and it doesn't work out for you in the draft, Rashad Penny is somebody there who's going to be there deep into free agency that has experience in the league and could be somebody to look at. That's very far down on my list of options. Again, Jamal Williams is top of the wish list, but there are the hurdles that we've talked about. Just something to keep in mind that they're going to have to address running back, whether it's in the draft or whatnot. I think free agency is an option that they're looking at because there are such a nice crop and even affordable guys that can be on the Saints' radar there. And for me, again, Jamal Williams tops that list. We'll see how it goes. It does look like that suspension, though, could potentially finally come down the pike for Alvin Kamara this season, and you don't want to be caught with your hands in your pockets when that happens if you're the New Orleans Saints. We'll grab a break, come back on the other side. It's a Tuesday edition of After Further Review, a Fat Tuesday edition of After Further Review. LSU, they defeated Southern 18-4 at the box earlier this afternoon. We'll give you some final thoughts, one final recap on that game next. Otterlocks still to come. Game tipping off here in 20 seconds. I'm looking at the clock. Xavier and Villanova. Xavier's hosting Villanova. Otter sent it in earlier, gave you the Musketeers. Xavier minus the 4. If it's at 4.5, buy the half a point to 4. Game getting set to tip off right now, 5:30. Otterlocks to wrap up the show. LSU Southern recap. Next, stay here, AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Renaissance Hotel and the Watermark Hotel, two great locations. If you're downtown or in Southtown, our friends at the Watermark and the Renaissance can certainly help make your next event spectacular, whether it's a wedding or an intimate gathering downtown at the Watermark, Baton Rouge's premier luxury hotel, or if you're at the Renaissance for a board meeting. They have elegant, intimate board meetings for a dozen people, or meeting space for up to 500 people in their spacious ballroom. At the Renaissance, they like to say, we're in the business of saying yes. So if it's annual conferences, award banquets, nonprofit school fundraisers, if you're hosting a sports team, a formal cotillion etiquette classes, they do it all at the Renaissance Hotel right there on Bluebonnet. It's the Renaissance Hotel. You can check them out online for reservations or to get more information. It's the Renaissance and the Watermark, downtown and Southtown. Check them out at the Renaissance Hotel.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus 2-time PBR World Champion Chris Shivers. And Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th. Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. The #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires, the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills. Let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
Well, Trey Morgan's awesome at baseball. Anytime you just make history, pretty darn good. Trey Morgan did that today in more ways than one. LSU defeated Southern 18-4 in 7 innings to move to 4-0 on the season. And Trey Morgan ended up being the story of that game. 4 for 5. And the cycle. Trey Morgan hit for the cycle today. The first cycle for an LSU Tiger since Mikey Matuk did it in 2010 against Alcorn State in a midweek game. Furthermore, with Morgan, he had 8 RBI, one shy of the school record of 9 RBI. That school record set by Braden Joubert last season against Vanderbilt in the finale of the season. And he did it in order. He hit for the cycle in order. Trey Morgan singled in his second at bat in the second inning, doubled, a 2 RBI double in his second at bat in the he singled in his first at bat in the second inning, doubled in his second at bat, that was in the third inning, and drove in 2 runs. He tripled in the 5th, driving in 3 more, and hit his first home run of the season in the 6th. Leah Van from The Advocate noting only 14 times in Major League Baseball history has somebody hit for the cycle in order. That, in and of itself, is insane. But what's even more insane is Trey Morgan went hitless opening weekend. He went 0 for 8. Hits for the cycle in the midweek. He's hitting .308 now. From hitless over 3 games to over 300 in 1 game. He's awesome, man. I'm fired up to watch what will undoubtedly be Trey Morgan's last season at LSU. He's going to get drafted probably within the first 3 rounds this summer, deservedly so. But an awesome accomplishment, an awesome honor. Hitting for the cycle in order. Again, like we said, it was the first cycle for an LSU Tiger since Mikey Matuk did it in 2010 in a midweek game against Alcorn State. Before that, it was Aaron Hill in 2003 against South Carolina. Aaron Hill, who we were talking about this during the break, not only did he hit for the cycle at LSU, I believe it was in 2012, he hit for the cycle twice in 1 major league season, which is also a rare feat. But so Aaron Hill just hits for the cycle at the time. Trey Morgan, though, man, making some LSU history and doing it in order. I'd like to know, I mean, like I said, Leah pointed out that only 14 times in Major League history. I'd love to know in college history, in SEC history, and even LSU history, if that's the first time that someone's hit for it in order. That's a very, very impressive feat that highlighted a very, very impressive day offensively for LSU. 18 runs for the Tigers total in the game. Those 18 runs came on 13 hits. 3 different 5 spots for the LSU offense today. You saw Braden Joubert hit a home run. You saw Jared Jones hit the first of many home runs in his LSU career. They were dominant, and it was after a slow start. So that brings me to the next point. The other interesting thing you wanted to see, the intrigue surrounding this game, was Thatcher Hurd's debut, and it wasn't great. There's really no other way around it. He struggled with command, especially early. He was missing arm side high with the fastball. That can probably be attributed to a lot of nerves. He settled in that inning, got out of it with a couple of strikeouts, pitched well in the second inning as well. Did give up a run off a leadoff walk, and then that guy would come around to score on a sac fly, but pitched out of it and limited the damage. and really at the end of that second inning started to find the zone, started to really pound the zone. Did Thatcher Hurd. That carried over into the third. Southern just hit it. And they really had one hard hit ball off of him all day, but he just wasn't missing bats, and it got out of control, and he wasn't able to record an out in the third inning. Overall, you saw 2 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, and 3 Ks for Thatcher Hurd. He threw 63 pitches. And quite honestly, LSU's going to need more than that from him. And going forward, you're going to see him pitch more. You will get more out of that from him than that from him. I'm very confident in saying LSU. Jay Johnson said it before the first weekend of the season. Thatcher Hurd's going to start games for them and start meaningful games for them, and for them to reach their highest potential, the best form of themselves, Thatcher Hurd has got to be a pivotal starting pitcher for LSU. The plan is for him to ultimately get into the rotation later this season, potentially either on Sunday or Saturday. So you're just going to need more. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and he will have much better days in his LSU career than he did today, and it could be pretty soon. After the game, Jay Johnson was asked about the starting rotation this weekend in Round Rock, and as Leah Van quoting her tweet here, Jay Johnson would not name a starting rotation for this weekend beyond Paul Skeens, and says that Thatcher Hurd will pitch this weekend in a leverage situation. So they want to get him back out on the mound as quickly as possible and in a tough spot. That shows you they are trying to push him along. They're trying to take their time, but they're trying to, kind of light the fire underneath it as well a little bit, because they want him in that starting rotation, probably for the start of SEC play, but definitely within SEC play. And look, if that doesn't come to fruition, you have other options, but right now it's still Thatcher Hurd there, so you'll need a little bit more out of him. I think they get it ultimately. It's just going to take time. It's a very interesting situation he's coming off of with the injury in his back and having to ramp him up and build him up. And the consistency just kind of started lacking a little bit towards in the preseason practice period. The most he's thrown is 4 innings. The 63 pitches is a good range for him there. And I said on my podcast earlier today, Moose with the Box, that I thought it was probably somewhere in between 65 and 75 pitches is what they were looking at. And 63 is right on the outside of that, but I think had he not gotten in as much trouble there in the third inning, maybe you see him come back out for the fourth and get that pitch count up a little bit higher. But you'll need more. You'll get more. It wasn't a great debut for Thatcher Hurd, but there you go. He's going to pitch a little bit this weekend in Round Rock, and as Jay Johnson said after the game, in a high leverage spot. That's something that I think is important there. Great to see the bats come alive. Obviously, the 18 runs on 13 hits. That's fantastic. A lot of, some were disappointed after opening weekend and only scoring 24 runs, where you got 18 of them today. And look, that was one of my whole things, is the onslaught is coming. Like that, that will happen sooner rather than later. And it was a slow start for them offensively, but after they picked it up. 18 runs, 13 hits. Again, Trey Morgan hitting for the cycle, 8 RBI. That's awesome. Jared Jones, 2 for 2 with 3 RBI and a first career homer. He's hitting 600. Josh Pearson did struggle a little bit at the top of the order. He was hit by a pitch and worked a nice full count AB and flew out to center, but you're going to want a little bit more of that. Also, Trey Morgan played left field today. There you go. So all the predictions that Trey Morgan would at least play outfield a little bit in the regular season, cash those tickets. It happened. And LSU was really able to empty the bench today as well. I mean, you got time for Jack Merrifield, Mick Paul, Josh Stevenson, Paxton Kling, who didn't start, got in late. Cade Beloso got another AB. Gavin Guidry had another AB, got to play second base and shortstop. Made a great play. Right when he got into the game, ball always finds you, right? Right when Gavin Guidry got into the game, made a fantastic play towards the center field side of second base, diving to save it, to rob a base hit, and threw the runner out at first base. It was a thing of beauty. It was during a commercial break, so I actually got to see that. And then outside, last thing we'll say here, outside of Thatcher Hurd on the mound, LSU, the bullpen was flawless. They did not allow a run that was charged to them. Christian Little went through 3 2/3 innings, 6 strikeouts, just the 1 hit, shutout ball, got the win, his first win in an LSU uniform. He was fantastic, threw 43 pitches, so was efficient as well. We got to see the debut of Griffin Herring. Talked a little bit about it while he was on the mound. Only a third of an inning for Herring, but he got the guy out he needed to. It was a little lefty-lefty matchup situation. And then Garrett Edwards, who had generated a lot of talk through the offseason because of the velocity uptick and the heavy flow of strikes, the assault on the strike zone that he had. He did it again today. Just 12 pitches for Garrett Edwards, 8 of them for strikes, a shutout inning to close out the game, and struck out 2. I think his role increases. It's going to start in the midweek. I think you ultimately see him on the weekend. I'll be curious to see if that happens this weekend when you take an uptick in competition, because I like Garrett Edwards as an option in the back end of the bullpen. He did it a lot as a freshman in 2021, was second on the team in saves actually that year, pitched in a lot of big spots. The Eugene Regional comes to mind, where he had a long relief outing. It was fantastic. Down the stretch when you were playing to get into the NCAA tournament that year at Texas A&M, he was good. He blanked the top-ranked team in the country, Arkansas, at one point in that season, 2 for 3 innings of relief. So he's got it in him, and especially at the back end of the game, I'm curious to see how that role evolves, because you saw him there close out this one in dominant fashion. So we'll see how his role continues to grow as we get closer and closer to this weekend and throughout the season and into SEC play. A great win for LSU, man. 18-4, started slow, pulled away. They're 4-0. They'll go to Round Rock. They're leaving tomorrow. So we'll have plenty of post-game audio on tomorrow's show from Jay Johnson, because this is also the only time the media got to ask him about the tournament in Round Rock. So that'll, play into our preview of that as we go along here throughout the week on After Further Review. Right now, we're going to grab our final break of the third hour of the show. Come back on the other side. Jimmy Ott will join us. Little bit of Otterlocks. We'll find out what we're betting on tonight. Otter already gave you one pick. It was Xavier minus the 4, and they are currently up 14-10 over Villanova. So right there on the number. Important to always buy that half a point. Otterlocks closes out a Tuesday edition of AFR next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, ESPN New Orleans, and ESPN Alexandria.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Rouse's. Y'all, we are moving into springtime, and springtime at Rouse's means crawfish time. Live or boiled, get by Rouse's. Any of the locations. You can go to rouses.com to get more information. That's rouses.com. Or just walk into any of the Rouse's locations. They're boiling crawfish every single day. And y'all, they have their own boiling rooms at Rouse's. So it's not like these are outsourced. They're boiled right there on site daily at all the Rouse's locations. When you walk in, go into any Rouse's, go to the left. Go to the seafood department. You'll see the hot and boiled kiosks. They'll have the boiled crawfish already bagged, priced. Grab it and go. It's at Rouse's. Rouse's is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We always say Rouse's, this feels like home. For party trays, dinner tonight, or all your groceries, they got you at Rouse's. So go to rouses.com or find the Rouse's nearest you. Rouse's, this feels like home.
Love the deals this month at Corval Toyota in Opelousas. Get 3.99% financing on new 23 Highlanders, and as always, you'll never pay over MSRP. So come on down to Happy Town. That's Corval Toyota in Opelousas. Happy Town, USA.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of WR.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
Closing out Mardi Gras edition of After Further Review. We're going to do it with Otterlocks here, looking for a bounce-back night. Illinois didn't hit, but we already got one pick in the works. Looking pretty good so far, and we know Otter's got some more for us, so let's do Otterlocks.
Otterlocks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
Otter, happy Mardi Gras. How are you?
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Happy Mardi Gras. Hope everybody's safe. It is peaceful on the roads today. It is beautiful.
It is.
Here in the capital city. I can tell you that. We're over at Dozy Place, right down the street from the studios, man. And what a peaceful drive over here today. Not so peaceful in Tuscaloosa. We'll talk about that. Nate,
man,
might be in a little sticky situation over there, covering some stuff up. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Yep, gave up the lead, recovering, cruising along, and got backdoored last night in Champaign as Illinois fell short of the number. 5 picks. Already gave out the Muskies, right?
Yep.
Xavier minus the 4. Then a lot of these, again, these are all lines under 5. If they are on the half, again, we ask you to buy the half a point. So we bought the half a point. It was 4.5 pretty much everywhere. Bought it down to 4. They're up 20-12 early on. Nice start out the gate there. Virginia Tech against Miami, one of 2 unranked teams favored over a ranked team tonight. Miami is, we see one place where this line went all the way up to 3.5. So Virginia Tech is getting some action here. We like them minus 2.5 at home. Buy it to -2. That's at MGM. Tennessee is +2. Got to get back on track. A&M is red hot, but the odds makers have caught up with them as well. So last Wednesday also, they were very fortunate in that game against Arkansas. Came from behind to win and cover. Tennessee's got to get back. It's a bad matchup for them against Kentucky. I'll take the +2 with Tennessee in College Station. Kansas State against Baylor. Baylor, we're getting one of the most public bets of the night tonight is Baylor. We're going to take Kansas State at home. Catching points, +2.5, buy it to +3. And then one of them kind of, you only have about 4 or 5 games before the odds makers catch up. You have that window of opportunity, before the lines catch up, and then even exceed where you lay in an inflated number. Well, Mississippi State, I'm going to stay with them. And they were a little bit fortunate to cover on Saturday. They went to overtime, and then they covered against Ole Miss. But they're just playing so much better. Their only loss lately when they got the tough call against them, didn't get the foul, would have sent it into overtime against Kentucky last Wednesday night as well. I'm taking Mississippi State +4 at Missouri tonight. So we already have Xavier, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Kansas State, Mississippi State. Awesome card, man. Great card on this Mardi Gras Tuesday night in college hoops.
Otter, real quick. So a question on State and Virginia Tech. So Mississippi State, you said 3.5. We're buying that to 3?
To 4. plus four.
To plus 4?
Yeah, plus. Yeah,
okay,
plus.
Virginia Tech, I'm looking at -3. Is that, you still feel good -3?
Just
Okay.
lay 3 then. Just lay 3.
All right,
So-
I want to make sure. Now, look, I'm in this to win it now, Otter. I'm not trying to lose money on this deal here.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Get on my back, Musso.
Carry the team, Otter. Carry the team. Dozy
There
Place?
you go. Dozy Place, right down the street. Got a few reservations over here. People after the parades. We are open. Just let people know we are open in the Crown Town room. Watching Xavier up to a 23-12 early lead right now.
Y'all get out there, check out Otter Dozy Place. Tune in to Jimmy Yacht's Game Time here on 104.5 ESPN. Follows us. Otter, we appreciate it. Thank you, man.
All right, Moose. See you.
If you're not able to tune in, get over to the Jimmy Yacht's Game Time Facebook page. You can watch live there. So Otter, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, K-State, Mississippi State. Those are his plays tonight. Already gave you Xavier earlier in the show. We got to get out of here. It was a great day. Thanks to Wilson Alexander for joining us in this hour. We'll see you tomorrow. Ash Wednesday edition of AFR. Be here.
AFR.
Brought to you by Mold Zero, mold-0usa.com. That's mold-0usa.com. Check them out online. I tell you this all the time. If you notice mold, if mold is a problem, or even odors, Mold Zero can help. And so often people see mold and they think, we're going to have to cut sheetrock. We're going to have to pull things out of the wall. No. With Mold Zero, this is easy. This is minimally invasive with little or no disturbance in that respect. They'll come in. They will spray their fog. You let it dwell. Wait about a couple hours or so for the fog to dissipate. Then you go back into your home. That fog gets into every nook and cranny, so it kills mold and other pathogens. It'll remove odor. They service the entire greater Baton Rouge and greater New Orleans area. So check them out at mold-0usa.com to get that free quote and estimate. mold-0usa.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Saturday